We're proud to bring you this live presentation on Racer TV of the 50th anniversary of the Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. 50 years of world premier off-road racing. 50 years of battling the gnarliest woods racing on the planet. It's time to start a new chapter. The next 50 years starts now.
Are you ready to go? GNCC Racing! Good afternoon and welcome to round number 4 of the 2025 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Racing Series, presented by Specialized, your AMA National Championships. Well, we've had a couple of weekends off. We are back GNCC racing with the FMF Camp Coker Bullet here in beautiful Society Hill, South Carolina, the Maury Sportsman Preserve. Johnny, I love this facility, man. It's a pain in the butt to get here from Indiana, there's no doubt. But, man, once you're here on property, I got to tell you, folks, if you're at home watching this weekend, this is one you've got to circle. You have got to be here in attendance. This track really is like no other. I've always called it kind of the melting pot of terrain. We get some sand. There's some clay in there. It is a mixture of everything this weekend.
You know, our fearless leader, director of operations, always likes to, Tim Cotter, likes to refer to a Chamber of Commerce Day at GNCC. Yes. That's never truer than it is here at the Maury Sportsman Preserve here in Society Hill, South Carolina. Just a beautiful facility. Yeah. I mean, there's rope swings for the kids. There's fishing tournaments. So many. Our man Zach Heron last night put on a concert over at Landers. So many things going on outside of the racing, but don't be fooled. The racing action this weekend will be hot and heavy, as it has been throughout the first part of 2025.
Absolutely. It's a 5-point difference between Bryson Neal, the points leader, and Walker Fowler sitting in that 2 spot. But, boy, all the momentum right now in favor of Bryson Neal. 2 wins in a row, and he has been sensational here at the Camp Coker Bullet.
You know, we're at a position where it looks like Bryson Neal really trying to just horse stomp the competition right now. He's put 2 dominating performances back-to-back at rounds 2 and 3, and if anybody, whether that be Walker Fowler, you know, Josh Merritt, Wyatt Wilkin, any of these guys want to put themselves in a position where they can stop the Bidwell Bullet from just marching away with this 2025 championship, they need to get that started here today. He's really starting to not only gain confidence, but he's got that swagger, and somebody needs to do something about that today, or once that ball's rolling, it's going to be even harder to get stopped.
It's going to be very difficult. Well, a guy we've talked about off and on this year is Hunter Hart. You know, the expectations he set for himself, I think the expectations we put before him, the success, it's not quite come to fruition yet as far as podiums or race wins, but Johnny, he sits 3rd in the points.
Absolutely. You know, just off the podium at rounds 1 and 3, a little bit of an off performance at round 2 in Florida, but still sitting 3rd place in points there, about 4 points ahead of Stephen Harrell, another rider yet to get a podium so far here in his sophomore season in XC1, but a rider that we've said, I think in each of the last 2 show openings, it's not a question of if, it's just a matter of when for Stephen Harrell that we're going to see him on the box. He had an excellent ride here last year. I believe was his first career top 5 in the XC1 class, so wouldn't be surprised to see him up in the mix here today. And again, can't overlook obviously Josh Merritt with that podium at round 3, Wyatt Wilkin at round 2, his first podium. So there's a lot of guys throwing their hat in the mix, but the biggest thing right now is those top 2 seeming to distance themselves a little bit in the points.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We want to show some love to that XC2 class as well. Alex Tiemann coming off a big win in the XC2 class.
Yeah, big win for Alex Tiemann. Rounding out the podium was Logan Steele and Braxton Gross. Braxton actually coming way from in the back. Alex and Braxton both, I believe, were last and second to last on a very tough-to-pass track in Alabama, coming up to both land on the podium. Alex grabbing the win there in that XC2 class. So it's a battle. We've seen a mix of other guys on the podium, but it's definitely been exciting to racing to watch, and we don't expect it to be any different today.
Going to be a good one. We are into the meat of this season. Hey, we talked a little bit about what we face here at Camp Coker, but for more information on that, we want to throw that to our very own Jackson Burrow, who stands by with Jared Bolton for the Yamaha Racing track description.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with the trail boss, Jared Bolton. Jared, we've made it here to round 4. Take us through what we can expect.
Well, fingers crossed. Sun's out, guns out. You know, hopefully it's good and dry for the weekend. Maybe a little bit of dust will never hurt anybody. So, beautiful weekend for a good race.
Well, what if, in the case that the rain does come down, what are you thinking?
Well, the good thing about Camp Coker is it's pretty sandy here. So, this place takes water pretty well. We've learned that over the years. We've stayed on high ground. You know, the early years here when we got rain, we found out pretty quick where the low-lying areas are, and we stayed out of those as much as possible. And if there is a little bit of rain, fingers crossed again that there's not, we'll be just fine. It's sand. Sand takes it really well.
All right, guys, we're good to go either way. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Jackson and Jared, for that track description. Mikey, I got to get out there and check it out a little bit on Thursday, and I got to tell you, you know, the dust I think is going to be a factor
Yes,
today, but
yes.
it's a very interesting track. It's going to provide some excellent racing action. We're going to let you head down, do those 10-second calls to get this race underway, and folks at home, we're going to be back with all the racing action live here on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. Ride. Up next, the number 3 out of Hillsboro, Ohio, aboard the SBR GBC and Pierce Performance-backed Yamaha, Wyatt Wilkin. Up next, the number 10 out of Sunbury, Pennsylvania, on the Amsoil Action Off-Road and CB Racing-backed Yamaha, Chris Borridge. Up next, the 246 out of Walker, West by God, Virginia, on the Sturdy Vant Racing Maxxis and Moose Racing backed Yamaha, Brandon Owens. The number 9 out of Casca, Pennsylvania, on the JMR Elka and Moose Racing backed Honda, the Cobra, Jared McClure. And now the 521 out of Waverly, West by God, Virginia, on the Ober Moose Racing and Parts Unlimited backed Honda, the Gator, Adam McGill. The 171 out of Salisbury, North Carolina, on the Phoenix Racing Yamaha, Grayson Eller. And last but certainly not least, the 714 out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the Bulletproof Doors, Kenda Tires, and Send Graphics back to Yamaha, Ronnie Rush. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your starting row for the XC1 Pro class here at the FMF Camp Coker Bullet GNCC, round number 4 of the 2025 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Racing Series, presented by Specialized, your AMA National Championship. DJ Judd exits the Mobile Entertainment Activation Transport, jumps into the Yamaha R-Max 1000, throws on the 50th anniversary Sparkle Gold helmet, and this is where we like to say DJ Judd, remove the meat, as DJ Judd makes his way off of the starting line with the Mobile Entertainment Activation Transport. All eyes will begin to fixate on turn number 1, where the maestro Ricky Towery will take the reins of this race, and we go as Ricky goes. And Ricky now steps out onto the track, and he lets our riders know 1 minute until we are ready to go. FMF Camp Coker Bullet GNCC Racing, as Ricky now steps back. He will look down at his watch, take a big deep breath, and there it is. Blue flag waves, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. As we are just about ready to roll now here at the Camp Coker Bullet. And I gotta ask you, South Carolina, are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Oh, that's pretty good, but we are back, baby. A couple of weeks off. I know we're rusty, but we can get loud, we can get proud. I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? 10 seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. Bang, and we're off as our riders jockey for position. Going wide around the outside is a 712 at John Glotta. Oh, and it's going to be the number 4, Josh Merritt, grabbing the whole shot and early lead, absolutely putting some hot sauce on it, and grabs that whole shot as we reset the deck for the XC2 in 10 seconds. B&R Motorsports Whole Shot Award up for grabs. Keaton Henderson, Dalton Keys, Andrew Banofsky, Danik Paquin, Andre Williams, Drew Landers, Braxton Gross, Elijah Edmondson, Kenny Schick, Alex Tiemann, Alex Elioff, Jeremiah Wolf, Aaron Vickery, and no doubt about it, the 259 of Kenny Schick out of Newcastle, Pennsylvania, is going to grab that hole shot and early lead, and we got a couple of riders getting tangled up there in the first turn. So we're on a holding pattern, guys. Make sure you keep your eyes on your track officials. Keep your eyes on Ricky Towery. And Johnny Gallagher on the spot. I think we're going to do our alternate start, guys. There we go. Good job. Hey, back up on two. That's a bad dude right there. Scratch that. No alternate start. Wait on the signal from Ricky Towery, boys. Good job, fellas. All right, Ricky says, here we go. Blue flag wave. Shut him down. Shut him down. Shut him down. Row number 3. Ready to roll. 10 seconds. College A, Talon Stout, Cameron Mulholland, Jackson Carroll, Dylan Trigg, Isaac Hart, Trevor Meadows, Ryan Wilhelm, Caden Lambruno, Evan Osborne, Gavin Mann, Sawyer Bolin, Brody Poland, Trip Alexo, Cody Whitaker, Nick Daring, Jackson McBee, and the 9-2-3 of Cole Likens gonna grab that hole shot and early lead as we reset the deck with our Junior A 20 plus. 10 seconds. David Machisco, Connor Brandt, Brody Livingood, Corey Zeck, Ryan Hendershot, Josh Genoble, Jeremy Ladon, Riley Salick, Colton Kusta, Trevor Furby, Briggs Lazelle, Joe Brooker, John Husky, David Witt. Oh, getting a little sideways right there, but able to hang on for the hole shot. That was the 037 of Connor Brandt. Putting that B&R Motorsports machine to good work. And grabbing the early lead, got a tangle up there in the first turn as we try to get him untangled. Double up, There you go, got it. Off and rolling. Now we're back to business. Blue flag waves, Vet A 28 plus. Ready to roll next. 10 seconds. Thomas Coons Jr., Henry Moore, Cody Benton, Jason Comex, Alan Blavos, Craig Bowman, Christopher Kirby, Simon Moore, and Zach Bothwell, J.D. Higgins, and Fred Marley. And that looked like the 036. That was Tom Coots Jr. grabbing that one. Good to see him out there rolling, baby. Senior A, 40 plus. 10 seconds. Dirk DeCerci, Jeffrey Pickens, that's Papa P, Ben Dunlap, Sean Slattery, Zachary Phillips, Chris Conklin, and Robert Henson. Around the first turn we go, and that is going to be Papa P, Jeff Pickens, grabbing that hole shot. And early lead right there as we reset the deck with our Junior B 19 plus. 10 seconds. Hunter Griffith, Race Milliard, Sam Coons, Tyler Kinzer, Colton Dobbs, Zach Schilling, Evan Lowmiller, Evan Young, Ian Burns, Colton Dooley, Tyler Fisher, Scott Lewis, Joey Stewart, Adam Sapel, Hunter Godsey, Tristan Howell, and grabbing the hole shot's going to be the 801 of Tristan Howell. On cue right there out of Worcester, Ohio, getting it done early. College B, 16-18, 10 seconds. Keelan Eichelberger, James Berger, Andrew Adams, Austin Kiger, J.N. Mintner, Evan Bridgewater, Parrott Childers, Connor Humphreys, Eli Davis, Eli Edgar, Trip Marino, Max Rodriguez, Landon Ostrich, Brady Shepard, Quentin Gauker, Mason Stopcheck, Landon Kozler, and Owen Sullivan with the 407 of Evan Bridgewater out of Carthage, Indiana on that Greenfield Landscapes and Byers Concrete backed ride. Grabbing that hole shot and early lead, Senior B, 40 plus, 10 seconds. Aaron Delancey, Jason Noble, Ricky Lewis, Nicholas Ringer, Robert Perry, Matthew Hartwell, Chris Carson, Forrest Cross, Chad Wallace, and Neil Shepard. Up and around the first turn we go. Ooh, takes a little digger right there. We'll check up from the neck up. Who wants it? The 415 wants it. That is Matthew Hartwell on that B&R Motorsports. And Cycle Machine and Fly Racing back Yamaha, getting it done early. 10 seconds. Vet B, 28 plus. Tanner Domisic. Zachary DeNoble lost my place. Joshua Jaime, Tyler Travis, Barry Nicholson, Clint Watson, Eric Murphy, Frederick Harder, Kyle Patton, Brent Pennington, Michael Brown, Tyler Miller, and that looked like the 987 of Jason Whitley out of Greensboro, North Carolina, grabbing that whole shot and early lead. Everybody off the line. Woo, a little wild start out there. XC1 off and rolling. Who's it going to be? We've had a couple of weekends off, but we are back, baby. GNCC is back on Racer TV. We're going to take a short break, get in a word from our sponsors, and be back with more from the FMF Camp Coker Bullet GNCC.
America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a man. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Round 4 of the 50th Annual Progressive Insurance Grand National Cross Country Racing Series. This is the 2025 FMF Camp Coker Bullet GNCC. My name is Jackson Burrell, and I'm going to be alongside Zach Hare and Johnny G, and, of course, Mikey Waynes to bring you today's action. Zach, we're back here in South Carolina.
Man, absolutely. Beautiful location. My home race on the GNCC circuit. We take a look at the Yamaha Racing Track, Mac. This is one of the sandier stops of the season. Not quite the same black sand that we see down in Florida, but man, it really does have a lot of characteristics solely known for the Camp Coker Bullet. It's got that sandy composition. A little bit drier here this weekend, but there is some moisture still deep down in the soil. But the roots is another thing we're going to be talking a lot about, Jackson. We saw that really start to play in our 4x4 Pro and WXC races a little bit earlier. The way this track breaks down lap after lap, going to have to take a rider that can adapt quickly, all while maintaining a high rate of speed. I think we're really in for a great race and a close battle here today. I'm putting a prediction out there. I think it's going to be a close race all the way to the finish. We'll have to wait and see how it closes out, but let's show you how things kicked off with our opening start recaps, and actually looks like we're actually going to jump right to the leaders. So Josh Merritt has taken over the number 1 spot. John Glotta Jr. in the number 2 position. And it looks like that is going to be Bryson Neal in the number 3 spot. So these guys were 1, 2, and 3 side by side, headed into turn 2 right off the jump. Stephen Harrell once again finds himself up front early in the number 4 position out of your XC1 field. Starting to see a little bit of space. We did talk about how dry things were. Adam McGill looks like possibly Austin Abney just behind him. Not the entire tail of the tape, but nonetheless, we welcome Johnny G into the booth. We're going to be seeing a little bit of dust out here this weekend, Johnny.
Yeah, especially early on in this one,
And it looks like we are going to jump back to the Specialized Start recaps and tell you how things got kicked off. So this was your XC1 Pro class, the starting lineup. Look at the drag race. Look at that. John Glotta Jr. way from the outside, leaves the brakes off, swings wide. 3-rider battle. You thought I was joking. Side by side by side. That is as close as it can get. Looks like Josh Merritt actually gets credited with the whole shot, but it was John Glotta Jr., Bryson Neal, and then Stephen Harrell right there in the mix as well. This is about a textbook start. Look at that. Kenny Schick does a great job, cuts down, little glance over the shoulder, and in full control of that XC2 start on the 259 machine. No question about it. Look at that. Not having to fight with anybody. We did have a couple of riders get back together. That rider is actually kind of sucked up into the rear wheel, but important to note, both of those riders remounted the machines and got back off and rolling. Johnny, back to your point.
Yeah, I don't remember where we were, but the track is a little bit dusty, especially the sections. There are a few sections of racetrack here that the afternoon is racing that the morning did not. And believe it or not, the track is going to be less dusty as we go. And here's why, guys. There is moisture in the ground, but it's a little bit down deep. Obviously, the top layer of sand, dirt here, the sun bakes it, the wind dries it out, and then it gets real dusty. As the riders come through and churn up fresh dirt and fresh sand underneath it, the dust starts to dissipate, and we actually get some moisture rising up to the surface. We saw that in this morning's race, and we do expect to see that again this afternoon as well. It will not be the entire course. There are going to be sections like here at the 4-mile marker. This is just going to be dusty all day. There's all there is to it. But a lot of the sections in the single track in the woods will actually get better as the race goes on. I will say, though, guys, a lot of chaos on that XC1 start. I don't know if you guys noticed there, but that was actually Walker Fowler up on top of the back. But it was Chris Borge, Walker Fowler, Jared McClure. Stephen Harrell looked like he was in it, but somehow got away clean. There was about 5 riders that were kind of knotted all together there. And, man, that puts those guys in the back of the pack. And as you can see, visibility at a premium today, it's going to be tough for those guys to work their way through the pack. The guys that are out front early, obviously Josh Merritt, John Glotta Jr., Bryson Neal, those guys at a big advantage right now.
Well, I tell you who I'm looking at least the way they're sitting right now, is Stephen Harrell. We've talked a lot about him in 2025 and said that this could be the season that he starts to become a guy that can get podiums, not only just once, but on a regular basis. He's got multiple finishes inside the top 10, a couple inside the top 5, but just missed out on that podium earlier. No shade toward John Glotta Jr., but we haven't seen John running that pace up front early. We've heard a lot about off-season testing, but during the race is a totally different scenario. So we'll see whether Glotta's may be able to turn the tide of his 2025 season, and whether a good start, maybe a little bit of misfortune from the rest of the XC1 field, could play into the favors of Stephen Harrell, possibly even see him on the box by the end of the day.
Absolutely, Zach. You know, Stephen Harrell really in the catbird seat right now for a podium position. Anything happens to any one of those top 3, and he just kind of inherits that position. We can't undermine the fact that he's shown the speed to go up there and just take it away himself. Obviously, Bryson Neal, as near the front as he is, it's going to be hard for John Glotta Gianglada Jr. and Josh Merritt to hold him back. He's just been so dominant these last 2 races. You know, Walker Fowler was able to get the job done at round 1, but round 2 and round 3, it really has been all about Bryson Neal. He's just really kind of set the pace from the front and marched away from the rest of the field. And with the only rider that's really been able to even somewhat match his pace this year being Walker Fowler, second from last going into the woods on a track that we know is hard to pass and dusty, I just think that Bryson Neal's going to see this as an opportunity to just kind of walk away with another win. But to do that, first he's got to get around Gianglada Jr. and also Josh Merritt, and they're surely going to put up a fight if they can.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Was not aware that was Walker Fowler in that first turn pileup, and that was kind of part of my prediction for that really close race. Talked to Walker a little bit, and I don't want to say that the pressure is on, but I think he knows, hey, I need to make something happen here this weekend. I need to at least have a good ride. One of the things, and Johnny, you're obviously close with Walker off track as well. He's the kind of guy, he can win and still be disappointed in his riding. He's very critical of how he performs, and it seems like after Jackson talked to him at Talladega, there was no sugarcoating, there was no other way to say it than I just need to get a little better.
Well, and I think the thing that sometimes it's hard to really understand the way someone's mind thinks at that level, but this is a guy that's won 77 races now, the all-time wins leader, both motorcycle and ATV. I mean, this guy's won more GNCCs than anyone else ever has on planet Earth. So when he doesn't win, he's frustrated, and I'm not speaking for him, but when you get beat like he got beat at Talladega, I mean, Bryson Neal beat everybody really, really badly, and I think what was compounded, making even that much worse for Walker, as he said in his interview with Jackson, was it wasn't just that he got beat. Like, he wasn't riding well. Like, I talked to him after the race, and he said, man, every time I tried to go fast, I was in a tree. He said, I just couldn't wrap my head around that track, my bike, anything. He said, we didn't have it, and Bryson just absolutely embarrassed us.
Well, and on the flip side of things, Bryson Neal on the number 1 really seems to be at peace. He's got a great program going on. He's got the bike working well for him, got the team working well for him. Home life situations going well for him as well. We were actually able to catch up with your reigning champ, the number 1, and talk a little bit about the 2025 season so far.
Anniversary of the GNCC series, it's been a whirlwind, man. It's just crazy. We're sitting here at round 4. Like we just talked, in the last 30 days has just flown by. Super proud of the start that we got off to. Round 1 was a mud race, got second place that day, then followed up with a win at Florida and at Talladega as well. So got some momentum on our side. Bike's feeling really good. I'm feeling really great as well in the machine. A whole package, a lot of new sponsors we added this year. Everything's been working really well, and man, we're stoked with the start that we're off to, and hopefully just try to keep building momentum, and one race at a time, just keep stacking days, and try to keep that bike making it to the finish line.
Tell me about Talladega. What were your thoughts on going there for the first time and just kind of the whole weekend in general?
It is cool because just biking the track, you didn't know where you was, and just trying to figure out the whole property, the venue. I mean, the parking was sick. Just the atmosphere of everybody all weekend long is just, everyone just seems so excited just to be there at a new place, especially a world-renowned, famous speedway like Talladega, with all the memories and the movies and everything that's ever happened there. And then the racing was just as cool. I mean, I have an OG, old school kind of classic, tighter style race course that we don't get too often anymore. I mean, it was a whole unique, great weekend, and I think it was a great turnout. And from my understanding and viewpoint, everybody seemed like they had a blast, including myself.
All right, so there you go. We heard what Bryson was thinking about not only the last race, but the season coming in so far. Looking like now on screen we have not our leaders, but we got some riders battling there. We did see, as we kind of did the split screen there, it looked like the top 3 had come through, and we caught just the tail end of what maybe was Bryson Neal. There we see Brandon Owens, Chris Borgen. It looked like possibly Walker Fowler still there right in front of him. So Walker just not able to make those moves yet to get up, make too many passes and get around too many riders. Now look at that. That is our XC2 riders getting up already to the back of that XC1 class. That really shows, when it's dusty like this and it slows things down. Again, we talk about this on Sundays, but it can happen on Saturdays too. Our top 3 three seemingly have a pretty good gap. It was hard to see if we missed anybody there, but I think we had our top three, and then all by himself, it was Stephen Harrell. And Adam McGill had made up a couple positions since we saw him last, had made his way around 2 riders, and was up into the number 5 spot from what it looked to be here at the 9-mile marker. But, man, I think the dust definitely playing in to be a bigger factor than I had expected early in this one. I mean, look at that visibility. Definitely not easy right now. Can't see much. You just have to kind of trust the rider in front of you and blindly follow them and hope that they don't ride, into a tree, because you're going to follow them right into it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We talk about the muddy conditions and the different types of mud and the different ways that you can deal with the mud, set your bike up, navigate around. But in dust, especially dust like this, there's not really much you can do. Basically, you want to try to maintain the speed. You want to ride as safely as possible, but you can't just shut it down and wait for the dust to clear out. You'll be there all day long. So talking to a lot of these riders, I'd say majority of them, they take a little bit of mud over really bad blinding dust any day of the week.
Yeah, speaking for myself, I always hated the dust because visibility was something that, to me, like, if I could see where I was going, I was good with pushing the pace, but I hated riding where I couldn't see, especially, to put it bluntly, as I got older, you kind of think about that a little bit more. When I was younger, I think you'd just be like, oh, I'm pretty sure the track goes straight here, and you just hold it wide open, and then you cartwheel yourself into oblivion a couple of times, and you realize, like, okay, maybe this isn't the greatest plan, but some guys are very good at it. You can say, oh, they're just lucky, but, they seem to be able to do it week in and week out, and, they just kind of have a good sense of where they're at and are able to keep pushing the pace even when visibility is next to non-existent. Looks like we got a couple riders on screen here trying to figure out who this may be. That's Wyatt Wilkin. It looks to be a rider that was a little further back off the start, and ahead of him,
possibly Ronnie Rush, maybe?
Looks like it could be. It is a white. I don't think Ronnie. No, it's not Ronnie.
McClure, maybe?
Whoever it is, it looks to be on a Yamaha. It's definitely a Yamaha. Oh, it's Jay Shadron.
There we go.
Okay, so Jay Shadron there, and just behind him is Wyatt Wilkin, another rider that was involved in that first turn melee. As those guys were, it was kind of interesting, guys. When they pulled away, they all kind of looked at each other and shook their heads at each other. I attribute that to the fact that everybody knew just how important the start was going to be today. And if you watch, normally the guys will kind of take a quick look left and right and figure out where they're going to slot in, try to get through that first turn without an incident. What we had was just a wave of riders going into that first turn, and really, honestly, none of them cared about anyone else. They just figured, I'm going to hold it on and try to get through here. And sometimes what happens is when you try to shove that many ATVs into an area only big enough for half of them, they get up on top of each other. They start, causing the bottleneck that we saw. And obviously, we saw an even worse one in that XC2 class. Always happy to see everybody ride away and start the race uninjured. But that's a tough way to start the day when you're mangled up and tangled up in the first turn.
Yeah, I was honestly a little surprised to see how well John Glada Jr. popped out of those opening 2 turns. He came into turn 1 hot. I knew there was no way he was making that inside, but because of the pile up to the inside, he was right there in the mix. So just goes to show a lot of different strategies, and maybe Glada knew, hey, everybody's going to be gunning for that inside, carry a little more momentum, swing wide, could be in at least the top 3 fight. Glada, I think, really looking to try to put a positive spin on 2025. We've heard a lot of speed, a lot of fitness, a lot of improvements headed into the season, but actually applying those to race, they've been a bit of a struggle. Excited to see what Glada is able to do with a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting that good start, there's a lot of thought that goes into that ahead of time. Guys, it's one of those things. Typically on a motocross start, you've got 40 gates there, and it's kind of a pretty straight shot to the first turn. People tend to favor the inside. Obviously, there are some tracks where you can get a good run from the outside. GNCCs are a little bit different. Obviously, lining up by points, John hasn't had the start to the season he likely would have preferred, so he's lining up. I think he's back in, if we look at the overall, he's back in like the 7th or 8th place spot.
6th place.
There you go, 6th place spot. So 5 guys get to pick ahead of him on position there. There is Adam McGill at the 11-mile marker, so some riders have come by. Hunter Hart now has closed up the gap to McGill. He was a little further back in that last camera shot at the 9. But there's 2 schools of thought on that. If you think you can get a good jump being to the inside, obviously is the best place to be because you can control the corner. But if you're wondering whether or not you're going to be able to get the jump on the guys to your right. You can get pinched off, which is what we saw at both the XC1 and XC2 start. Sometimes that outside you can count on a little bit of chaos, or you can just roll the dice, and like you said, he just sent it around the outside. There is Wilkin trying to chase down Jay Shadron. So those guys are just behind Adam McGill, who's behind Stephen Harrell, and then Hunter Hart in there. Then comes the 703 of Austin Abney, who's given up a couple of spots here. And look, going the other way, that was Josh Merritt, and all over the back of him looked like it was Bryson Neal had made the pass on John Glauda Jr. from what it looked like to me. And that, I'll tell you what, if this is where I think that is, that's a pretty big gap of distance from where they were to where they are. Yeah, those guys have opened up a pretty big gap. But that's your top three. We'll wait here at the 11 and wait for fourth on back to come battling on through. And there was Adam McGill coming the other direction.
So back to the Yamaha Racing live drone. Jackson, another thing, we don't have the exact numbers, at least for this afternoon race, but we've got a lot of people racing with us here at the Camp Coker Bullet. I believe just over 300 riders in that AM ATV race. Got to think Lapper's going to be a part of this one, as always.
Yeah, no doubt. A huge turnout here this weekend, not just in this race, but in the other ones as well. What are you seeing, Johnny?
No, I was just going to say, now that is Ronnie Rush. we thought we had him before, but that is definitely Ronnie there. And hard to tell. That may actually be Brandon Owens behind him on the 246 machine. Had a great run at Talladega. I believe one of if not a career best, right up there with it for him. Had a good run going there just 3 weeks ago.
Now let's touch Johnny a little bit. We've got Josh Merritt and Wyatt Wilkin, a little bit different stories right now. One's up towards the front. Last we saw one a little bit further back. You were able to catch up with both of them. Yourself and Jason Wygant sat down and chatted with them. Talked a little bit not only about the racing, but about the mentality and the way they're reacting to this season so far as well. Any big takeaways you took from that interview? It was a great listen, but what did you kind of take away from those two riders and their mentality headed here into the meat and potatoes of the season, if you will?
For me, what I thought out of both those guys is, although they both, Josh came into 2024 as the number 5 rider, so he had a great season in 2023. Wyatt was coming in fresh off his rookie year in XC1, so as a sophomore. I don't think a lot of people had those guys on a short list to both win races and also to battle over that number 3. It's a coveted position when you've got riders like Bryson Neal and Walker Fowler that are both former champions. I think a lot of people kind of slotted, Hunter Hart, maybe Adam McGill, a bunch of guys like that in ahead of Josh and Wyatt coming preseason into 2024. Well, the thing that I took away is, this year, I think they're both wearing that a little bit heavier. The battle that they're having, trying to get themselves into podium positions this year, they feel it's expected of them. It's no longer a case of they're surprising people. They both think and believe, rightly so, that they should be there. And I think they're both wearing it pretty well right now. And it's refreshing to see, I wouldn't say Josh is a younger guy. He's in his 30s. There is Jay Shadron. So Adam McGill and Hunter Hart have gone by there. Wyatt Wilkins still trying to close up to the back of Jay Shadron. Can't sleep on that guy, man. We are in the sand, and he rode incredibly well in the sands of Florida just over a month ago, or just about a month ago. And now we're looking ahead to Stephen Harrell there in the number 4 spot. Can always tell him. So that is your 4th place rider there on screen. We've got what we believe is still Josh Merritt out front. Bryson Neal looked like he had worked his way into the number 2 spot. And John Glauda Jr. was starting to fall off the back. And those guys are long gone. A big chunk out in front of Stephen Harrell last we saw. But we obviously we see some dust over there in the distance. So those guys are definitely further ahead. They're making dust and making tracks, trying to do everything they can to open up this gap, but they are setting a pace right now that the rest of the field just not able to match. And here we are catching up with the leaders, and there we see, look at this. Bryson Neal now has gone to the number 1 spot. Man. He is out front. He's gotten around Merritt. You can see 2 different lines there. He has made the pass on the number 4 of Josh Merritt in there in the number 2 spot, and just behind Merritt, it is still the 712 of John Glauda Jr. So these 3, this is your podium positions out front, leading the way here on lap number 2 at the Camp Coker GNCC, and Bryson Neal now starting to make tracks and also, hate to be a broken record, but make dust.
Yep, bad news for the rest of the field right now. This is the last guy you want with a little bit of clean air, and man, he's making the most of it right now. Evenly spaced, your top 3, Bryson Neal, Josh Merritt, and then John Glauda Jr. Glad to see him still hanging on right now, just losing touch of Josh Merritt a little bit, but nothing that can't be reeled back in. Man, this is dangerous, Jackson. I mean, we've seen what Bryson's able to do, the confidence that he has, and the calm confidence as well. It just doesn't seem like anything phases this guy. A bad start here, a mistake there. He's able to shake it off, focus on what he needs to do, and put himself right where he is right now.
Yeah, Zach, he just seems to do it time and time again. Of course, he has a little girl on the way as well, so I'm sure that helps him as far as his mentality goes, no doubt. He was very excited about that when we got to catch up with him. And you can see it's paying off for him.
And guys, worth noting, if you're watching at home and you're also following live with live scoring, we've got a little glitch in our scoring system. I'm guessing both Bryson Neal and Josh Merritt, their transponders are not working and not reading. We're showing John Glaude Jr. leading, but as you can see on screen, it definitely is Bryson Neal, the Bidwell Bullet, and look at the gap he's already starting to open up in just, what, a half mile of racetrack?
Man.
So there it is. The second rider you see on screen is the number 4 of Josh Merritt. Now actually starting to open up a little bit of a gap over John Glaude Jr. But your top 3 on screen, Bryson Neal out front, Josh Merritt in the number 2 spot, and John Glaude Jr. actually that's one of the track crew. I was like, somebody's got a hotline there. I don't think he's supposed to be over there.
That's our spotter making his way through.
Yeah, that's they're allowed on that road. Just the racers themselves are not. I was like, man, if John Glaude Jr. is going to make a pass on the road, we might have an issue after the race.
Yeah, that might be frowned upon.
Yeah, no. Bryson Neal just, man. The intensity matched with just the calculated, he hits his marks, he's so smooth. And the one thing you really can see watching Bryson ride, he's very deliberate in everything that he does. You know, he's driving his heels into the ground to get traction with that machine. He's such a strong rider. He just doesn't kind of finesse the machine, he bullies it.
Yeah.
I mean, he throws it where he wants it to be and wills that machine to do exactly what he wants it to do. And my goodness, guys, the gap he's opened up in just a half mile is nothing short of unbelievable right now.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I felt like that you talked about the strength of Bryson Neal. That really was shown, I felt like, in our last round in Talladega. A couple of those really tight spots, you could see him almost bunny hop and slide the machine around throughout the race and was able to put that machine exactly where he wants. It's been incredibly impressive. And this is exactly what the rest of the field did not want to see. The Phoenix Racing Yamaha, the number 1, Bryson Neal, out front, leading the way. Will he be able to hang on and grab another win in the 2025 season? We're going to have to wait to find out. We'll get a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with the FMF Camp Coker Bullet GNCC.
Unleash aggression, reliability, premium quality with Kenda tires, delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles: automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda tires to guide you on your next adventure. Designed for your journey.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive, Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the FMF Camp Coker Bullet Round 4 of the 2025 Progressive GNCC Racing Series. 50 years of GNCC racing being celebrated in 2025. And, man, we've got a hot one going on right now. ATV Pros out on the track, and it is the number 1 of Bryson Neal leading the way. We'll give you guys a quick glimpse of our leaders as we caught them just a few moments ago. There is Bryson Neal on the number 1. Looking good on that Phoenix Racing Yamaha. I mean, textbook technique, rocking some of that new Alpha One Moose racing gear they just released. He was a big part of that product development. And look at this now, John Glotta Jr. It's not just at the test track. He's flying right now here at Camp Coker, is taking over the number 2 position. We'll see whether or not it's still Josh Merritt in the number 3 spot. And it is. So Glotta takes over the number 2 spot. Josh Merritt going to shuffle back to that final podium position. And pretty evenly spaced between those top 3. And curious what happened to Merritt there, because it looked like right when we went to commercial, he was starting to stretch things out on Glotta as well. But
there's a lot of interesting sections between those last 2 camera shots. And look at this. Speaking of interesting, Hunter Hart on the charge and has now gotten to the rear wheels of Stephen Harrell and looking smooth. So he's gotten around Adam McGill. He's gotten around several riders. He was another rider that was kind of caught up in that first turn melee. Then it's McGill there back in the number 4, 5, 6 spot, but back to the 5-mile marker. And Bryson Neal, man, at this point, these guys basically need Bryson Neal to make the wrong move, because I just don't see anybody having the pace to match him right now. He just looks phenomenal out there, guys.
And it really doesn't even look like he's sprinting. It just looks like he's maybe 0.5% better everywhere, and it's just compounding and compounding and growing as we see, John Glotta Jr. looking great right now, clearly on the attack, on the charge, but it just seems like Bryson Neal has got things set up a little bit better and is able to go a small amount faster everywhere, and that's built the gap that you see.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I don't know if you guys follow Bryson on social media, but he posted a video last week that was mind-blowing. Like, we talk about the 15-second Insta-bangers that Hunter Hart puts up, and everybody's like, how does he not win Florida by 25 minutes as fast as he looks on those clips that he puts up on Instagram? Bryson Neal did kind of the same thing as sister Jaden. Used to come to a lot of the races, doesn't come to as many as more. Caught basically some, practice footage of him at home. Unbelievable. Just throwing the machine around, and it's like, well, maybe he actually is as fast as he looks in those Instagram clips, the way he's just kind of handling the field this year. We see look like, for a moment there, it looked like Adam McGill was letting up, but I think he was just letting the dust clear. But Stephen Harrell still charging, actually able to open back up that gap just a few bike lengths over the big number 6 of Hunter Hart there. And that is the battle over 4th place position. 4th and 5th, those two are as they run right now.
Well, and he's cooled out a little bit on the Instabangers, but right now, Hunter Hart's on the charge. He's looking solid, maybe saved a little energy from those videos and is putting it to good use right now. He's worked his way past a couple of riders and is knocking on the door of Stephen Harrell. Oof. Wyatt Wilkins still just kind of hanging back there, not been able to make a lot of moves.
That was our first Walker Fowler sighting. He's actually made a few passes and now has gotten almost to the rear of Wyatt Wilkin. Wilkin able to make up a few positions, but he's just kind of been behind Jay Shadron there and not looking like he has the gusto to be able to make the pass.
Hey, something worth mentioning. You mentioned how good Jay Shadron did there in Florida, 5th place. I heard him say earlier that he switched his setup back to what he had there at Florida here for the sand this weekend, so that very well could be paying off for him.
Absolutely, and I think, a lot of these guys will talk about setup, but it's comfort, and a lot of times the conditions themselves are what offer that comfort. Jay spends the entire winter down in Florida, rides at Croom, 4 or 5 days a week. Guys, this is a sand track, but it's not a Florida sand track. Now we get a shot of that was Brandon Owens on the 246 machine coming through there. It is sand, but as you can see on screen, it's not the deep sugar sand. Look at this. There is, I think that was our XC2 leader, Alex Tiemann, possibly coming through there. And I think we are going to have to keep an eye on those guys. Maybe one of those shadows we see going through. The Braxton Gross on that, let's see. Yep, he was, actually Braxton Gross was leading last lap. I don't see Tiemann on here. If you look, he's not even in the top 20, so maybe his transponder working, or maybe that wasn't him after all. Jared McClure already having given up a few positions to those XC2 riders. You know, not the ride that the Sneaky Snake was wanting here today, but never count that guy out. He'll keep fighting all the way till the end. If you follow him on social media, he's been doing some snowcross racing here recently. Wow. He lives up in the upper part of New York and goes up into Vermont and the New England states, even up into Canada to do some racing on the off weekends from GNCC. There we see Grayson Eller, the 171 machine on that Phoenix Racing Yamaha, looking like he's just outside the top 10 in that XC1 Pro class.
And Phoenix Racing has to be happy here with this one, as Bryson Neal leads the way with John Glaude. Their two riders sitting first and second right now.
Man, so I'm looking here, and to find our second place rider in XC2, it was actually Kenny Schick as they checked in, 38 seconds down from Braxton Gross, and there is Jeremiah Wolf, the 341 machine. His dad, Brian Wolf, out there doing battle in the sportsman class this morning. I believe took a P2 behind Harrison Lindsay. One of the riders is normally a College A rider here in South Carolina. Said, you know, I want to try out the morning track. I think it might be a little more fun. Went out there and won that sportsman A class. Had a pretty impressive overall. There is the 259 of Kenny Schick, still running solidly up inside the top 5 or 6 in that XC2 Pro class. Was in second when they checked in just about 5 miles ago. So some troubles for Schick through the first couple miles, but still pushing hard on that 259 machine to try to get it done. Interesting though, I would have thought that that was Alex Tiemann that we saw on screen. He's not showing up. So is that another case of a transponder not reading, or was that not actually him that we saw? Looking down the list of riders, it could have been Ronnie Rush, Brandon Owens. I don't know. It definitely wasn't Borich. I really think that was Tiemann there. So we'll see when they check in. We'll see if we can get confirmation. If they have him on backup scoring, maybe his transponder's not reading.
Yeah, very well could be. They'll make sure to correct that next time around, if so.
Tanner Walker, the one of the innovators of 9.2. I believe they've actually sold the company, but still here racing with us. The next generation of Walkers here. He's got his new addition to the family with him. You see him carrying him around on his shoulders, and it just goes to show what Dad does battle in the XC2 class, and then within a year or two we're here. The little Walkers will be out there battling the other riders in the Stasic Challenge under the lights tonight. Stasic Racing, man, it just keeps growing, and it's just getting big here at GNCC Racing.
Yeah, and evolving the sport along with it.
There looks to be Elijah Edmondson. That was one of the two riders we saw in that first turn pileup. It was Elijah Edmondson and Chance Hickey who were locked together. And there's our first sighting of our top amateur. That is, I apologize, it's Cole Likens. I always get Cole and Noah mixed up. So I was going to say the Likens boy. I'm sorry to the Likens family. Man, those kids are on the move right now, doing very well. You see Cole Likens up into the top 20 overall and is our top amateur. A new feature this weekend, guys. Look at the color code. That's what I was just about to say.
OPAG, getting it done, and he put in a lot of work on this. Trust me, he was asking, what color do you guys think the font should be? The background's really cool information, and helps the fans at home kind of realize, okay, well, this is where your XC2 class is up in the mix with the XC1 boys. We've got some amateurs in there as well, so continuing to help bring some new technology to Racer TV and the broadcast as well, and yeah, it makes things a little easier for us as well.
That was Jordan Berg, another one of our College A riders, and I believe second place in that amateur overall battle. We do have a podium for those guys at the end of the day, and those guys, that's a big feather in their cap, kind of putting themselves on the radar, saying, hey, in the future, I want to be a force in that XC2 class and ultimately work their way to the front row, battle those elite XC1 riders.
Yeah, and that's exactly how we've seen it play out as well. Those riders, when they move up into that XC2 class, it's pretty smooth transfer as Bryson Neal on screen, Yamaha live drone picks him up.
So this is the opposite angle from our camera shot. When now we switch to that camera shot, look at the dust just kicking up. Guys, I thought we were going to see some moisture, not necessarily here because this is more of a hard packed clay base, but I got to say I've been caught off guard a little bit as to just how dusty some of this track is getting. But man, Bryson Neal looks like he is just mad at the dirt the way he's riding right now.
He's mad. He saw Hollywood taking a hot line faster than him, and he said he's going to make this line even quicker.
Yeah. this is the same section, opposite side, but yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of pines here, and now we see our number 2 rider, John Glada Jr., looking smooth, man. Looks really good. Maybe it just took 4 rounds for all the preseason flying at the test track hype to catch on, and a good start. Definitely a big factor here today. We know that, but he's riding very, very well right now.
Well, and it seems like Glada has had those opportunities where I don't want to say he's starting dependent, but we've seen him, in that battle for the top 5, if that's where he's at. You see Josh Merritt on screen now in 3rd place spot. If he starts inside the top 5, he can kind of hang inside the top 5. If he starts a little further back, he doesn't quite work his way forward like some of these other riders, but he gets a good start. He can run that pace as well. So John Glada really looking solid right now and making a statement here at round 4.
Well, guys, I think we talked a little bit about it earlier in the season when all the flying test track stuff. Look at this. Stephen Harrell is impressing me right now. He has been under pressure from Hunter Hart this entire lap and just saying, hey, you might have a little more pace, bud, but I'm going to make it really difficult for you to get around me. When I say that, he's not blocking. He's riding his own race, and he's keeping Hunter at that safe 2 to 3 bike length distance. Then Adam McGill, an impressive charge for the Gator, working his way up through the pack early. Not quite able to match the pace of Hunter Hart, who did get around him, but still riding very, very well in that 6th place position.
Back to Bryson Neal we go, weaving his way through this South Carolina forest.
Guys, let's talk a little bit about momentum. Bryson Neal has an issue.
Whoa, wait a second.
He goes off track. You can see he blew through the track markers there and realized, like, hey, this isn't the way. Just as we talk about,
that was a string.
Yeah, as we talk about not putting a foot wrong. Well, he finally does it. Guys, we've been waiting the last 3 races to see a Bryson Neal mistake. We finally saw it. But coming into 2025, Bryson hot off that another championship run, but Walker Fowler able to battle him down to the final round last year. Then Walker grabs the win at round 1, and I think suddenly people are thinking, hey, this is going to be a race, this year. This isn't going to be the Bryson Neal show. And then Bryson comes out 2 races in a row and through 2 laps, or 1 lap complete, working on now coming to the finish line, nearing completion of lap number 2. Bryson Neal's starting to say, no, guys, this is going to be the Bryson Neal show this year. And if somebody else wants to take it from me, they're going to have to come get it, because right now he's making that very, very difficult. Momentum, man, it's key. When things start going your way, it's a lot easier to keep it going. And he just looks really smooth and really fast right now.
Yeah, mentality, and I'm sure it's going to be hard for some of these other XC1 guys to keep that mentality up with the kind of wins that Bryson Neal has been getting. It's hard not to let something like that take your morale away.
Well, and on top of that, you've got the Wyatt Wilkin, the Josh Merritts, where, just like Johnny was touching earlier, they're kind of feeling the pressure of that number 3 position, feeling the pressure of thinking they belong on the podium each and every round. It's an accomplishment to feel that pressure, but nonetheless, it's pressure all the same. And Bryson Neal, he just seems calm, cool, and collected. The whole team, it's over there. You don't even think it's a race team. You think it's a group of guys all hanging out, drinking a couple of cold ones, having a good time on the weekend. But it is. It's serious business, but they know they've put in the work. They've done the effort beforehand, and all they got to go out and do is what they do, basically.
Absolutely. And to that point, when things start clicking, you don't feel that pressure. You feel like, hey, the things that we're doing at home, what we're doing during the week is working. You get that confidence, and it's so easy. Your line of thinking can weigh so heavy on your mind during race weekend. So if you're chasing it, whether it be bike setup or something that you're doing in your riding, the first time something goes wrong, it's so easy for the wheels to fall off the bus. The biggest thing that I've seen out of Bryson Neal since this championship run started during the 2022 season, he's just been, even on the days where he's not good, he never seems to push the panic button. When I say when he's not good, when he doesn't win or things don't go his way, he just manages his expectations and, to use a very cliche phrase, wins his championships on his bad days.
Yep.
He manages the race. He gets maximum points that he can given the circumstances, whether it's a bike issue, a bad start, just not riding well. But right now, I don't even know that a bad start could slow this guy down. We've seen him just charge through the pack in 2025 and really just kind of almost, I hate to toot this guy's horn too much because you don't want to get his head all big, but he's starting to look like he's just in a class of his own.
Yeah, and we've even seen him having to handle adversity as well. I believe it was this track 2 years ago, ended up with a post-race penalty, right?
Yeah.
He took it on the chin, said, you know what, I made a mistake. The the Racer Productions crew and everybody took me out there. I saw what I did. I'm going to take my licks. I believe went from first to third on that day. But same thing, the overall mentality of it. He doesn't let anything rattle him. His highs aren't too highs. When he does win, it's not like, man, I'm the best there ever is, anything like that. Not full Ricky Bobby, right? I'm unbeatable. But at the same time, the lows aren't that low for him either, you know? And so it just goes to show keeping it mellow, and it's paying off for him right now.
I think the thing that, to me, that has been most impressive about Bryson Neal, yes, I mean, he's won these last 2 races by large margins. I mean, I think it was 3 minutes or over 3 minutes at Talladega. It was over 2 minutes at Florida. But the thing that I'm really impressed by is his ability to win races so many different ways. We've seen him in the last 3 seasons. We've seen him come through the pack to win races. We've seen him get good starts and pull away. We've seen him manage races. I think he really takes what the track, the conditions, and the day give him, and he makes the most of it. And I think what we're seeing right now, we don't have onboard communication, but I think if we could have a conversation with Bryson Neal, Bryson, you really look like you're pushing hard out there. What's your goal? He knows they're going to get into lapped riders here soon. If he can get completely out of sight, which not if he can, he already has gotten completely out of sight at John Glada Jr. If he's able to do that, now we see Glada coming by. Glada can't see him, and now John Glada Jr. can't even see his dust. So he just doesn't have that carrot to chase. He doesn't have that motivation. Bryson Neal has passed him and ridden away. Yes, certainly Glada is pumped to be in a podium position and seeming like he's opening up that gap a little bit over Josh Merritt. But Bryson Neal, when he gets to lappers, he's going to be all by himself. He's not going to have that stress of which line do I take here, because if I don't make the right move, the rider behind me is going to pass me. Now we see Josh Merritt still solidly in that number 3 spot. We'll see what the gap back. Is it still Stephen Harrell in the number 4 spot, or has Hunter Hart finally been able to make the move? It's been over a lap now that those two have been basically glued to each other, but yeah, when there's nobody behind you, there's just less pressure. Bryson Neal out there just riding the track.
There it is.
We see, look at this. Harrell now has opened up a couple bike lengths over Hunter Hart. Impressed with the number 5 of Stephen Harrell, no question about it.
Yeah, that's one of those deals, too, where you got to think eventually one of the riders are going to break, right? Eventually, Harrell's either going to say, you know what, go around me, I'm going to try to figure out what lines you're taking, or Hart's going to be like, dude, I'm going to have to reset and try to come at you a different way.
Real quick on that, I don't think Stephen Harrell feels under pressure right now, because Hunter Hart he's back there, he knows he's there, but Hunter Hart is a rider that he will ride literally touching the rear tires, the rider in front of him if he's able. I think right now, Stephen Harrell actually has the pace to keep that few bike length lead. We're only seeing shots. I'm sure there's places on the track where maybe Hunter's a little closer, but I don't think he's close enough to really be putting immense pressure on Stephen Harrell right now.
Yeah, not only is the battle on the track, they're battling for points as well, some valuable points. Only 4 points separate them for that 3rd place position on the overall charts here. And then Josh Merritt just 1 point behind those two. So the battle is on there for that 3rd place position.
As they come through, just a few more chicanes, and they will check in with 2 laps complete. We have corrected our live timing and scoring. So what you're seeing was Josh Merritt did lead lap number 1. It was Bryson Neal actually in the number 2 spot. So he had already gotten around John Glada Jr. before they entered scoring, which they're getting ready to do now for the 2nd time. We'll get the gaps. Hopefully his transponder works this time, but I think we're going to see... Gosh, it's got to be at least 20 seconds or so that he's got over John Glada Jr. Guys, what do you think?
Yeah, at least half a minute.
All right, he has checked in now.
I'm just blown away at how quickly he got through that section with the amount of guys that I saw flying off of quads going through those ruts earlier today.
Into the pits, calm, cool, and collected.
Yep, nobody rushing, everybody taking their time.
That's C. Neal, Bryson's dad. Now John Glada Jr. coming into the finish line chicanes. Chris Neal, we don't talk about him a whole lot, a former racer in his own right. I can remember when Bryson was out there on a TRX 90, and Chris was the big story himself out there racing in our amateur classes, passing the baton off to his son Bryson. Bryson coming up through the ranks, winning championships in the amateur classes on his way up through, and now ultimately a 3-time GNCC XC1 and overall champion. The gap back 44 seconds to John Glada. So what I was thinking maybe 20, Jackson was saying 30, 44 seconds. That's the gap. Interesting. Glada bypassing the pits. Now here comes Merritt. So looking at the lap times, guys, I'm thinking this is going to shake out to be a 4-lap race.
Yeah, they do have 2-lap card out.
Okay, there you go. So 2-lap card out. Good catch there. I'm not watching the screen. I'm looking at live scoring. But your top 3 podium positions have gone through. It looked like Josh Merritt maybe trying to grab a little hydration there. Looked like he might have missed it. So not super hot here today. But definitely you want to stay on top of the hydration. Josh Merritt, you see there, one of the few riders does not wear any type of hydration. No Camelback, no waist pack system. He relies on those handoff bottles to get his hydration throughout the race. And I think we did see Stephen Harrell and Hunter Hart. Yes. Oh, Hunter Hart made the pass on Stephen Harrell and put 5 seconds on him. Look at this. Yeah. They're in the pits together.
Hunter Hart eager to get going.
Yeah. Pit strategy could be big today, as hard as this track can possibly be to pass on. But look at this battle. Wyatt Wilkin. Now Walker Fowler has gotten to the rear, and Adam McGill has checked in that number 6 spot. Shadron in 7th, Wyatt Wilkin in 8th, and Walker Fowler 9th. And these guys all coming through. I wouldn't be surprised if they're on top of their game to see if Wyatt Wilkin pits. I think Walker Fowler is going, and Jay Shadron, can't forget about him. Walker Fowler may go, no, he pitted. See, that would have been for me an opportunity if you could make it on fuel, make the passes in the pits and go for it. Let him try to, oh, you can see stalling the machine, a little bit of frustration there, and not able to make any passes, having to shake the sand out of the goggles before he gets to the corner. Again, I don't know the fuel mileage, but to me, starting in the back like that, I would have taken that opportunity to grab 1, 2, maybe even 3 spots there in the pits and then pitted in the next lap.
How much of that would have been a game time decision from Walker right there? Because Walker was the first pit right around the corner.
Man, the problem with that is, as a rider, you don't know. You don't know the time. You don't know. Yes, you see that it's going to be a 4-lap race, but you don't know the lap times. You don't have all the information that the pit crew is available. You really have to have, and Mark Notman, Danny Fowler, those guys, they know what they're doing. They likely do know the fuel mileage. I think at 50, let's see, Walker checked in with 54 minutes and a lap time of 26 minutes. I mean, I would be pushing it. He'd be about an hour 20. In the sand, that's right on the edge of what would be able to go on fuel. So likely they're probably going to the side of caution there. And if you run them out of fuel, that ends the day. You don't want to do that. But yeah, probably was ultimately the right call, I guess, for those guys. But man, as a racer, you want your crew to make those choices and get you those passes in the pits if they can.
Through the FMF PowerPoint they go. We just caught a glimpse of Bryson Neal. That's John Glotta Jr. making his way through as well. Back to B. Neal we go. This is one of my favorite sections of the season. We get some great shots from all of our amazing photographers and videographers, and it's so cool to see how different it looks too on quad day versus bike day, the different line selections, the way those lines develop. But right now, bobbing and weaving his way through the number 1, B. Neal.
Hopefully we'll get a camera shot long enough. Now we see our 3rd place rider coming through here in the FMF PowerPoint. That is Josh Merritt. Still looking good, just not quite having the intensity of the 2 riders in front of him. Bryson Neal just absolutely on rails. And John Glotta Jr. looking good as well. 29 seconds back from John Glotta Jr. was Josh Merritt when they checked in there with 2 laps down. So the 30-second gap, I mean, that's a pretty solid amount of time that John Glotta Jr. has to work with. But look ahead, folks, and this is what I was talking about a little bit ago. Look at the speed differential between your leader, they're just going through those trees, Bryson Neal, and the lapped riders that he's now coming up on. And these guys are some of the best riders in their own classes individually in the country, in the amateur classes, and they're saying, wow, this guy is rolling. And as you see, a lot of tight pines coming up, so this could factor into the race. But with the 44-second gap, Bryson Neal has the opportunity to take his time, make good, clean passes, doesn't have to rush, doesn't have to force lines. He's just in a really good position right now.
And it sounds like at least Bryson Neal, as of late, patience a little bit better of a tool in his toolbox, if you will. It sounds like when he was a bit younger, maybe a bit too eager at some points, would force himself into a mistake. We've seen Bryson a multitude of times check up a little bit, take that extra second or so, find a different way around the lapper because he knows he's built up a big enough gap. And this 44, I believe, seconds was the gap the last time around. He's got the time built up now to do what he needs to do to get around cleanly.
We didn't see it on screen, but our XC2 leader, Braxton Gross, has checked in. I guess we're going to assume that was not Alex Tiemann. I do not actually see him checked in at all inside the top 20. If we scroll down a little further, don't know. Oh, actually, Tiemann is in 31st place, and wow, outside the top 10 in that XC2 class on lap number 1. So that was not him leading. So we're going to assume it was Braxton Gross still up into that number 11 spot, like you see on screen with 2 laps down, working his way, trying to get up into that top 10 overall. But a rider that took a very, very commanding win in the sands of Florida. And kind of a mirror image of 2024, Braxton Gross won Florida, won Camp Coker, and then also able to grab a win at Snowshoe. So not sandy at all, but he is a West Coast rider, very familiar with these hard pack, dusty conditions, and also the sand, which is basically, if you think to last year, Dante Oliveira on bike day on Sunday comes out visiting Works rider and battles Johnny Girard down, ultimately taking the win on Sunday in our pro bike race. These are about as close to Works conditions or West Coast conditions as you're going to get. Leader back on screen, Bryson Neal. Man, that is just pure intensity and pure bulldogging. He is absolutely flying.
I think it's safe to say we're locked in.
Yeah, we are looking in.
Jackson with the zinger. He didn't give us the lock in. He's just showing us that he is locked in.
I've been noticing how he's jumping through the braking bumps here, not seeing many other riders doing it exactly the way Bryson Neal's doing it.
That's confidence in your ability, confidence in your machine. You know, if you know that rut or berm is going to hold you, then why get on the brakes, man? Just use it as a little slingshot around the corner, hop over those braking bumps, save yourself some abuse on you and the machine, and carry a whole lot more speed. That's the way to do it if you're confident enough to make it work.
And it just seems like Bryson is so good at putting the track together. These guys, they'll have a good section here, a bad section there. With Bryson, it just seems like one constant flow state. John Glada, I'm pretty impressed with right now as well, though. I mean, we haven't gotten to see him a ton on Racer TV in some of these battles, but man, all by his lonesome right now, and doesn't look like he's losing a ton of time now that he's lost touch with Bryson Neal. I mean, still maintaining a healthy gap over Josh Merritt. Impressive performance for the 712.
Yeah, 30 seconds is what it was there after 2 laps down, and now he's in kind of no man's land. He doesn't have Bryson to chase. You can see lapped riders in the mix here. We should be seeing the number 4 of Merritt coming through any time. Merritt now starting to fall with only what was, let's see here, 16 seconds over Hunter Hart when they checked in last lap. I think we may see that battle start to come together because Hunter Hart is the rider on the move, and we can see Josh Merritt has given up more time.
Yep.
There is Merritt there in the number 3 spot, and there is Hunter Hart. So the number 6 machine has now reeled in Josh Merritt and looking pretty intent on trying to take that position away here 4 miles into lap number 3.
I feel like a podium finish for Hunter Hart to do.
Absolutely. Yep. There we see the number 5 of Stephen Harrell, so that is your 5th place rider. Still just barely off the podium, there to capitalize if any of those guys have a mistake or if he's able to just kind of dig deep and pick up the pace. Next up should be the Gator, Adam McGill, in that number 6 spot. And just on cue, there he is. Then Wyatt Wilkin in 7th has actually shaken Walker Fowler a little bit. Fowler was right there on his rear wheels, but they have both gotten around headlights there. There is Jay Shadron dropping back 2 positions, giving those positions up to Wilkin and Fowler, but still looking like he's moving along pretty well. And right there trying to reel those guys back in, hoping to get a tow. I think we're going to see that McGill, Wilkin, Fowler battle come together by our next camera shot. I think that's going to continue to tighten up.
So taking a look right now here at the finish line, 2-lap card is out. Johnny, as a racer yourself, Josh Merritt been in kind of like what we call no man's land. Nobody just in front or behind him for the last little bit. Now going to be getting the pit. Hey, Hunter Hart closing in fast. Is it hard to kind of flip that switch back to being in a fight, in a battle, when you've kind of been just hitting your marks out by yourself, you don't have anybody to gauge off of one way or another, and then you almost have to start riding behind yourself, anticipating where that next rider's coming up at?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it, and I know Josh well enough, and I know kind of some of the demons he's been dealing with here in 2025 so far. You talk to these guys, and you kind of get a sense of where their head's at. I think Josh was in a good place mentally coming into today, but he was not at all happy with the machine in Florida. Just did not feel like this year the sand setup was good at all. Did very well here last year. Did very, very well in Florida. It's like, it's one of those things. the confidence can go a long way. Josh did some riding at a place called Hillsville in Pennsylvania that is similar to these conditions. He said, hey, I think I got the bike good. Man, I've never ridden the sand that fast in my life. But right now, you got to wonder, is that doubt starting to creep in? He was way off where he wanted to be and where he should have been in Florida. And while he is in a podium position here, we see one of our amateur riders getting some fuel there in the VP Fuels Pro Row there. I think Josh really needs to kind of reset, and if he's able to keep Hunter Hart at bay or even try to latch on to Hunter, at this point, you know, they're working their way towards a white flag. Manage your race, try to maximize your points, but I just don't think he has the stuff right now. There we see, looks like Brandon Owens, the 246 machine coming by there, and then that is Ronnie Rush there on the 714 machine. Solid ride for Ronnie today, looking like he's got pretty good pace and able to keep up with Brandon Owens, sitting just outside the top 10 overall. That looked to be Jared McClure there, the number 9, the sneaky snake, putting in a push, trying to get back up there. And there is your XC2 leader, Braxton Gross, now up to the rear wheels of almost Jared McClure. Then it's Chris Borch and Austin Abney coming through. Abney says he hates the sand, and today it's looking like that. He's dropping back pretty quickly, but still putting up a fight, trying to gain some points here today.
Well, right now, everybody trying to put up a fight and bring the fight to the number 1, the Bidwell Bullet, trying to bring home the Camp Coker Bullet here this year. Small mistake or not, the guy's not worried about it. He's got 44 seconds the last time we saw. Is he going to be able to bring it home for a win? We'll be seeing a white flag soon here at the FMF Camp Coker Bullet GNCC.
On Track School is an online private school catering to some of the top athletes in the world. We offer a flexible schedule for students that are chasing their dreams and always on the go. We are an accredited K-12 school where students can graduate with a diploma. Scan the QR code or call us to book an appointment with one of our learning coaches to discuss your students' next steps.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 left, the main event, the Blood, the Beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
Community, family, teamwork. It's what we have stood on for over a decade. Hauling might be what we do at the surface, but it's much deeper than that, because what you need matters. When you need a haul, give us a call at 724-852-4488. For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, we at JD Enterprises are prepared to serve you.
It takes commitment, passion, and endurance to make something great. Made by champions, for champions.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. All right, welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Well, hey, we've been kind of hard on him the last couple of years. He's been hard on himself. The podium, it's eluded him. The wins, they've eluded him this year, but he finds himself in familiar territory, sitting third in the points coming into today. We had a chance to catch up with the man I'm talking about, Hunter Hart.
We're building, after the dumpster fire that was last year, we're building on it. Round one, we were half second off the podium, couldn't get much closer than that. Round 2, we led a little bit, I think it's lap and a half, and then we actually ended up, got some bad chickens before the race and dealt with some food poisoning gnarly. And then round 3, we were third, ended up just clipping a tree and, ended up fourth for the day there. So we're back in the sand, we're, I spent a lot of time in the sand, and, we made some bike changes between this weekend and last weekend, so it'll be good. I'm hopeful that it'll trend in the right direction, It's a beautiful day here, sunny, warm, couldn't ask for any better weather, and, we're here. Yeah, honestly, you've got to put your best foot forward every weekend. It sucks when it seems like you have an issue on a race weekend, it's never ideal. But, after that, you kind of have to just continue to trend forward, and know that, if you can make up a point, 2 points here and there, that's where you need to really grab them as you can, because they're not easy to pick up, and they're definitely a lot harder to regain once you lose them. So, that's just the goal, is just to be consistently consistent and, not let the things kind of spaz you out a lot and just kind of go through the motions, just vibe with it.
So there you go. Good to hear from Hunter there, Johnny. And I said prior to the interview, we were pretty hard on him last year. He was hard on himself, though, and it was refreshing.
Hold on. He called it a dumpster fire.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
so,
fair.
We were hard on him, but he's looking back on it and seeing it was, in fact, a dumpster fire.
Yeah, so it is. But the mindset change for Hunter in between last year and this year, and, for a guy that is like, John, he's been very adamant about, like, this is how I do things. I'm not changing it. And he kind of threw that out the window, and he's like, all right, now I've got to change stuff. And it's working for him, and I think it is.
Well, and he's sitting third in
process.
He's sitting third in points. There we see Bryson Neal on screen. Is Johnny really quiet? Yeah, Bryson, there we go. I didn't think you guys could hear me. I wasn't sure if you could hear me at all.
Now I can.
Bryson Neal on screen leading the way. Hunter Hart, he's sitting third in points, so you can't say that the season hasn't been great or hasn't been good, but he wants to be up there back.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah, he wants to, like you said, Johnny.
He wants to be battling for wins. Obviously wants to be on the podium every race. That's where he feels he should be and needs to be. I think he's making strides. I mean, obviously 2 fourth-place finishes, I believe, and a 7th or 6th or 7th.
4.64, yep.
Yeah, 4.64. So it's been a solid start to the season, something he can build off of. Definitely not a dumpster fire, but putting it on the box today would be a big, big step in the direction he wants to be. I think we were hard on him last year. I think this year the only thing we're going to be hard on him about is his interviews. That was 14 in his interview. So, Hunter, when you watch this at home, it was a great interview, but just take the no's out, and it'll be even better. John Glauda on screen there in the number 2 spot, charging, making dust, and looking pretty smooth. We'll see what kind of a gap he's able to maintain over if it is still Josh Merritt in the number 3 spot, or if Hunter Hart has been able to make his way around and wrestle away that final podium position.
One of the cool things I liked about that Hunter interview that we don't always get as far as the full scope. We talk about that all the time. We have nothing more than the scores on our paper to talk about, the scores on screen that we have to talk about, but there is so much more that goes into it. You listen to Hunter's interview right there, the different obstacles that he's had to deal with, everything from food poisoning, crashing into a tree, bike setup, all these different variables that these riders have to deal with. We look at, a 4th place, and a rider could have 12 different riders have a 4th place for 12 different reasons. And so all of those, whether it be the 4th, the 6th, the 2nd, 4th place, he was in good positions, had some things go wrong. But I think the biggest thing was last year, there wasn't really a cause or a reason. We kind of say, hey, what happened? And he's, I don't know, things just, didn't go my way. Whereas with this, he's at least got something that he can point at and say, hey, this held me back. As take a look at this, Hunter Hart. He's made the move. He has made the move on Josh Merritt. So how about that?
There we go. Now, you're on. Now it's working. He's gotten around Josh Merritt. There we see Merritt in the number 4 spot, giving up that final podium position. The other thing, when we talk about Hunter Hart and when you say, like, 4.64, what's wrong? And not what's wrong. I mean, it is a good start to the season, 3rd in points, but Wyatt Wilkin, Josh Merritt, Stephen Harrell. I mean, the list of guys, John Glauda Jr., the list of guys who have stepped up kind of in Hunter's struggle time. The sport, the progression of things doesn't stop just because you're having a rough go of things. So where Hunter Hart was kind of the heir apparent, it seemed, you got Bryson Neal, Walker Fowler, both kind of more towards the tail end of their career. Like, Hunter Hart's just going to walk away and win 10 championships. And suddenly Josh Merritt, Wyatt Wilkin, John Glauda Jr., Stephen Harrell, enter the chat, you know, and they're like, no, like don't forget about us, guys. We're still here. We're going to fight, and that changes things when you're thinking like, okay, all I have to worry about is Bryson and Walker. You know, I think what we're seeing today from Hunter kind of puts him back in that discussion of he's definitely in that mix, no question, for a podium every race. He just needs to do this week in and week out, and I think we've seen him have the flashes of brilliance and the speed to get up and battle Bryson Neal, to battle Walker Fowler, to battle for wins week in and week out. That's the Hunter we expect. That's why when he's 5th, 7th, we're like, hey, what's wrong with Hunter? Because we're expecting, Bryson Neal.
Gnarly get off for Neal.
Man, that was a big one. He's going to get up and going without much time lost, but that was a hard hit to the front of that machine. Hopefully no damage done to the right front end of that machine, just right over the handlebars, and
I saw the number one go flying. Yeah,
I mean, I think he's still going to extend his lead this lap, but that could have been disastrous. I mean, when you hit a tree that hard, that very easily can break a spindle. You know, you can damage an A-arm, you can damage a shock, damage a wheel. There's a whole lot of things that you can do there, but as you can tell by the pace that Bryson is going, does not appear any significant damage to that Phoenix Racing Yamaha. He's looking good, he's charging, and I'm going to go ahead and lay it out there and say that little 5-second mistake, we're still going to see upwards of a minute gap when he comes through and completes lap number 3.
Man, Bryson Neal, nothing hurt but the pride on that one. But
maybe the tree.
The tree probably needs medical assistance, but
now he's stopped behiing lap traffic.
Now
Get around it.
That's just part of it.
You guys see that tree back there?
Yeah, exactly. He's stopping. Man, go check that out back there. But yeah, as we watch Bryson Neal continue to just put a gap on the guys, you know, back to your point, Johnny, with Hunter Hart, you guys were talking momentum, building confidence, and that's what Stephen Harrell, that's what Wyatt Wilkin, that is what Josh Merritt were able to gain in that time where Hunter Hart, unfortunately, was trying to just figure things out. So now you've got guys that they all feel like they are contenders for podiums.
Yeah, absolutely. And once they get that confidence, once they get that, you know, that kind of swagger, it's hard to take it away because they feel like they belong there, they deserve to be there. You know, you convince Wyatt Wilkin that now that Hunter Hart's back on his game, he should just let him around. That ain't happening.
No, not at all.
Granted, today, Hunter's been able to make passes. He did start ahead of Wyatt, but he's able to get around Josh. Josh was definitely better than Hunter all year last year. So right now, Hunter's kind of proving that if you look at the points and the finishes, at least today, he's better. So now he's up in that mix where he's starting to get himself in the conversation again with Wyatt Wilkin, with Josh Merritt, and we can't sleep on Stephen Harrell. I mean, we keep saying the podium is coming. It's starting to look like maybe today won't be that day, but still running solidly inside the top 5.
Yeah, I love seeing Glotta. I know you guys are showing him some love too. Just finally looking like that rider we've been talking about really all of last season and certainly coming into this year.
Well, and Zach was talking about it a little bit earlier with John Glotta, and you know, Zach and Jackson a little newer to the broadcast the last couple of years, but if you remember, you know, John Glotta Jr. was that guy in XC2 coming up through that was just burning up the XC1 riders in front of him, you know, just working his way up in to the top 10 overall consistently out of that XC2 class. He came into XC1, he put his time in, and we're like, okay, you know, he's getting top 5s. Now he's getting a podium here or there. You know, when does he start battling for wins? Injuries, some bad seasons, some bad races, some, you know, you don't want to call it bad luck, but, you know, some things happened, and suddenly he kind of faded back to where he was a guy that, you know, just getting top 10s was a good day for him. He had a choice to make, you know, and I think part of it, I'm not going to speak for him, but the chatter has been everybody started working harder. Everybody started doing this training, more riding. John, very naturally talented, just has incredible speed, but maybe wasn't quite working as hard as some of his competitors, is the word on the street. I'm not speaking for him. But I think what we're seeing this year, even the guys down in Florida said, like, hey, John's actually doing the work this year. He's putting in the riding. He's going to the gym. He's doing what he needs to do. And I think what we're seeing on screen is what John Glotta Jr. is capable of when he does the right things.
And I believe John working with Levi Cohen in Outlier Performance. Levi breaking out the gear, doing a little racing. I saw in the Sportsman A class, actually pulled over and deadlifted that quad a few times on the third lap. But no, a top 5 finish, I believe, for Levi Cohen. As there we see the Bidwell Bullet.
Now thick into lappers. I mean, we can see all those lapped riders coming through, but with the gap he has, I don't anticipate the lappers slowing him down enough that whether it be John Glotta Jr., Hunter, whoever it may be, I just don't think they're close enough to capitalize on a few seconds here or there that Bryson's going to lose, even though once he does pass these lapped riders, then they are aware, like, hey, there's going to be more coming. But the reality of it is going to be, they're going to start looking back and go, well, I guess nobody else is coming for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and get back to racing. You can see making short work of that lapped rider right there. Lapper's very conscious, pulling out of the way. This is one of the few tracks, though. There is a section in the back, in the Pines, that's about 2.5 miles where there's only 2 opportunities for riders to pull out of the way. So we could see some time swings there. I don't think we're going to see... I don't anticipate anybody making up a significant amount of time on Bryson Neal, honestly, though.
Yeah, don't adjust your TV screens at home, folks. Bryson Neal, this is not on fast forward. Like, just look at that. I mean, it's just insane. And you guys made the point earlier. It's not like these guys, this is their first time on an ATV that he has. And these are some of the best in the nation, A and B riders out there that show up to your local and grab overall wins. Bidwell Bullitt is just that generational talent we get to watch.
And this is what happens when talent and preparation meet hard work and determination, and you're seeing it. I mean, he's just hopping over the bumps. He's absolutely punishing the sand, punishing the dirt, and running away here now with the white flag waving in Ricky Towery's hand. We see the nod in. We got a nod in. We got a head nod. He knows one lap standing between him and another win here, making it 3 of the first 4 races grabbing the win. Nothing short of impressive all day so far.
I think that was what? Is it Uncle Mike?
They call him Uncle Mike. I don't know if
I've always heard of him.
Actually, his uncle.
Maybe not.
So one thing to factor in here. So Hunter Hart has now made it to the number 3 spot. So we'll be waiting and watching for the 712 of John Glaude Jr. But John Glaude Jr. has not pitted. So we see Matt Pierce stepping out of the Phoenix Part 2 pits there. We've got Bryson Neal, Phoenix Yamaha on the one end. John Glaude kind of in the middle there. He does need to pit for fuel this lap. So that will give Hunter an opportunity to close down that gap a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. This last lap could turn into a dogfight between John Glaude and Hunter Hart over that second place position.
Johnny, we've seen that a lot over the years. You go back to XC2 days for that one between those two. No love lost on the track.
Hold on, we can go back to youth.
That's also good, very good point.
We got youth, we've got amateur all-stars, which back then was called the schoolboy class. These two have been battling each other for pretty much their entire careers. They're around the same age, and Bryson Neal battling nothing. There we see Glaude getting the fuel. He's got a drink. Looks like he's asking for something else. Another bottle, no goggles, and he's got to know that Hunter Hart is on the chase. They're probably letting him know what that gap is, and we ourselves are going to find out what that gap is. Bryson Neal passing some more lapped riders, moving from inside to outside, and I would say not putting a step wrong. He's waving the fans.
Was that a wave?
So 55 seconds was the lead over Glaude, so stretching it out another 11 seconds. As yet, Hunter Hart has not checked in. So Glaude actually able to maintain that gap a little better than what I think it looked like on screen. I would have said Hunter was closer than that because he still has not checked in unless his transponder's not working. We do still have only 2 riders checked in with 3 laps complete. So that means John Glaude Jr., if that is accurate, and Hunter Hart or Josh Merritt have not checked in, a very comfortable second place position for him. Still nothing? I don't know if I'm believing this. We may have a glitch. Oh, there we go. 1 minute and 22 seconds.
Wow.
John Glaude Jr. putting in a burner that lap with a 27:03, meaning that he was only 9 seconds off of Bryson Neal's pace on that lap. Guys, that is impressive. John Glaude Jr. is on one compared to Hunter Hart's 27:40. So 37 seconds faster that lap for John Glaude Jr. Guys, I don't think we're looking at a battle over that number 2 spot. I think John Glaude Jr. is in a position where he's got that pretty much, you can never say on lock. There's still 11 miles, 12 miles of racing to go, but the pace right now is definitely there for Glaude.
So I know you can't necessarily speak on behalf of John Glaude. I mean,
guys.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Walker Fowler up to the number 4 spot with a 27:12 lap time.
Let's go.
Also, so that would be 28 seconds faster than Hunter Hart, only 9 seconds behind him. So Walker Fowler now trying to hunt down a podium position, trying to put himself in the mix, and trying to get to, now we see Josh Merritt off his machine, getting passed by a few riders.
Tough day for Josh. if nothing else right there, you could tell from the body language.
He had checked in the number 5 spot, 26 seconds behind, but Stephen Harrell was only 2 seconds behind. I'm guessing Harrell and possibly maybe even Wyatt Wilkin passing him there in the pits when he was off his machine. So may mean he's dropped as far back as the number 7 spot in the overall.
Yeah, possible, because I know Harrell did pit on that last lap, and if maybe it was an extended pit stop, Wyatt might have gotten around him as well. So.
And he was off the machine. We didn't see the beginning of that, but he was definitely off the machine. If I had to guess, I would say making him some suspension adjustments. He's known to do that when he's not happy with the setup. Sometimes it can pay off, but sometimes you got to just put your head down, keep charging. Hard to say just how off he felt the setup was. And again, we didn't see him making adjustments, but he definitely was off the machine. You could see Levi Cohen leaning in there, giving him a tap on the back and saying, "Hey man, one more lap. Let's get this thing done. Let's score some points here today." But man, this guy might be the surprise of the day so far. Still charging, just riding the rear wheels. Big, tall, lanky rider out of North Carolina, pushing the pace and trying to, I wouldn't say track down his teammate, but with only a 55-second advantage, he's closer to Bryson Neal than third place is to him. Yeah. So let's not give this win over to Bryson Neal just yet. John Glada Jr. not ready to give up on it and still pushing the pace.
And honestly, it's shout out to John Glada, because it's impressive when a guy gets stuck out there on an island. You kind of see him settle into that race pace of like, well, I can't really do any worse. I can't do any better. I'm just going to make sure I don't make any mistakes.
Did you catch that?
Check up from the neck up right there.
But I think he was looking back to see if there was somebody else back there. That was more than a look at a lapper. That was a taking a look back. You would think he's probably gotten pit boards, but hey, maybe he's like, hey, I heard my Phoenix Yamaha teammate back there is on a charge, and I don't want to let him get too close.
So B. Neal doing his best job to put as many lappers in between him and the hard-charging John Glada Jr.
So we've seen, obviously, Austin Abney, career first podium at round 1. We saw Wyatt Wilkin getting his first podium of the season in the sands of Florida at round 2. A rider who was number 3 from the previous year. The rider he battled with, Josh Merritt, getting his first podium at round number 3. And now, so we've had, at this point, as they run,
4.
We've had 3 riders, now 4 getting their first podiums of the season, and could be today if Walker Fowler's not able to get his way around Hunter Hart.
True.
Hunter Hart also getting his first podium.
Good point.
So, that's kind of the story right now, is will Walker Fowler build only 9 seconds back and running just shy of 30 seconds faster on that last lap, coming through traffic at that. Will he be able to get to the rear wheels of Hunter Hart, and if so, can he make the pass? That is kind of the battle on track right now, that final podium position between Hunter Hart and Walker Fowler.
It's interesting. You mentioned all those names, and you look down through our top 20, and Jay Shad, talked to him in that pre-race report. He felt like he was podium potential today, coming off of how well he did in Florida in the sand, and he put it out there. I'm looking for a podium today. So Jay Shad, throw him in the mix. And, of course, again, Stephen Harrell. Still, no podium for him. How much longer this season before we see those two guys off of the box?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Stephen Harrell absolutely has to be there soon. I mean, just the consistency. He's been there race in and race out. I think through the first 2 rounds, it was less than, 15 seconds combined that he was off the podium for 2 rounds, or maybe even less than 10. Yeah. He was right there twice. Bryson Neal still hippity-hopping his way through this Camp Coker, now very rough Camp Coker GNCC racetrack, with about a 55-second lead over his teammate, John Glada. Glada on the charge. Not looking like there's going to be enough time for him to get to the rear wheels of Neal, but you just never know, man. If you're John Glada, you just got to keep pushing, and at this point, most likely knows he's got a pretty substantial gap of near a minute and a half over Hunter Hart, who has worked his way up through the pack and gotten to the number 3 spot. But look at that. There is... Nope, thought it was Glada. It's not. But, man, that's a lot of lapped riders.
Yeah, he's got to get around. Yes, it is. Shout out to Braxton Gross, cracking into the top 10 officially.
Yep, was 11th the first 2 laps, now up to 10th, and making quite a bit of time on Adam McGill that last lap, but he's got about another 30 seconds he needs to make up to take away that spot from Adam McGill, who is only 40 seconds behind Jay Shadron for 8th. Wyatt Wilkin there in 7th, and again, we think that Josh Merritt has lost a few spots in the pits when he was off his machine, showing in that number 5 spot, but we think he has dropped back as far as maybe 7th in the overall running order. We'll see if we get a shot of them here at the 4-mile marker, or 5 the next time we get a shot where we can see our top 10 come through.
Continuing to hold and wait You see that man right there, John Glada Jr.
Still charging, still looking fresh.
Yes.
That's kind of been the thing with John is, you know, when he has that great speed late in the races, you kind of wait for the fall off, if you will, and he kind of tries to nurse it to the finish. Today, on a very rough racetrack that a lot of people were saying was going to take everything you had just to finish, let alone be able to push the pace, I think we're seeing the true fitness of Glada come through, and not only running in a number 2 spot, but again, only 9 seconds off the blistering pace of Bryson Neal last lap.
It's impressive. Good to see Glada making it work. Waiting on
Hunter Hart and Walker Fowler.
See how far apart those guys are.
I think we're going to switch our camera shot to the other side, possibly.
It's like the Blair Witch Project for a second.
Not sure.
So that got OPAG. I got you. You guys ever seen Cabin in the Woods? That's a good one.
Yeah, there's the finish line. Those guys will be here in a couple miles.
They will be. Ricky Towery, shout out to that man right there. Ricky's still getting it done. Had surgery in the offseason. Has not really skipped the beat. He's slowed down a little bit, but dude, guy tough as nails.
So looking at the riders who have completed 3 laps of racing, still don't see Alex Tiemann now, and just as I say that, Alex Tiemann checks in. Looks like he is, so Braxton Gross all alone out front by himself in that number 10 spot overall. 16th overall and 2nd in XC2 is Jeremiah Wolf. Guys, 2 minutes and 24 seconds is the lead for Braxton Gross. And B. Neal, the Bidwell Bullet on screen, 5 miles in, and clicking off the mile markers, getting ever closer to win number 3 of the 2025 season, and 3 in a row. Shout out to James Glada in the number 3 spot. So maybe possibly 2 Glada riders, Glada brothers on the podium in this XC2 class, but Glada only holding a 20-second lead over the charging Alex Tiemann, who was outside the top 10 when we looked back on lap number 1. So Tiemann on the charge, looking at lap times, he was about 37 seconds faster than Glada. So that's going to be a battle down to the finish if Tiemann's able to get around and wrestle away that final podium position.
I don't think Alex Tiemann would know what to do with a good start. It feels like every race, you don't usually see him till about the time the white flag comes out. And then, sure enough, I'm getting things together on the podium. Oh, look at that. Alex is up here once again. So would not be surprised to see him back up on the box once again. But, yeah, Braxton Gross got to feel right at home here in the sands of South Carolina. It's funny, we talked about the victory he got at Snowshoe last year, and he walked up and he's like, what am I doing up here? I don't know how to ride rocks. And so he's definitely
rocks.
But and even just like Johnny was saying, it's not even all just bike setup. It's just general comfort. Like the mentality side of things I don't think can be stressed enough as far as just the way you feel coming onto a property, if that makes sense. You just pull in and you know, hey, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be a battle. The old mentality of showing up to a place saying, oh, I hate this place. The so-and-so hates the sand or hates the mud. There you see John Glada Jr., but the rider that's just kind of open to whatever happens, it seems to benefit them in the long run. And John Glada must have pulled into the property this weekend saying, I'm ready to make something happen.
Well, to your point there, Zach, Braxton Gross, we were talking about him, our current leader in that XC2 class, having a big win at Snowshoe last year in the rocks, but big win, 7th overall in Florida. I think inside the top 10 here at Camp Coker last year, or very near, if not inside the top 10. The races he expected to do well, then doing well at Snowshoe. Had a bunch of other podiums, was in the mix, ended up, I think, 3rd place in the points for the year, first year running the full series. A West Coast kid traveling from California back and forth, some help from some East Coast families, the Hickeys, and also the Meadows, so just the GNCC family coming together. I think this year it was different. Seeing him in Alabama, I kind of told him, I was anticipating him thinking, hey, this isn't my kind of track, so I said, hey, man, it's going to be a rough day out there for you. Just, try to manage your expectations, try to get it on the podium. And he looked at me and he said, I think this track's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. Went out, put it on the box after starting dead last. So I think you're exactly right. That mentality of, convincing yourself this is my track when maybe even it isn't can sometimes, look at this, here's the battle, this is the final podium position. Hunter Hart has it, Walker Fowler wants it, and they are nose to tail at the 5 mile marker with about 6 miles of racing action left. And look at that battle. That one, I think, is going to come right down to the wire.
Man, it is going to be fun to watch. How is it going to play out for that final XC1 podium spot? We will soon find out. We're going to get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back to the FMF Camp Coker Bullet GNCC. Bryson Neal going for a ride. The tree going to need some medical help, but nonetheless, the number one keeps on keeping on and is trying to put together another dominant performance here for the 50th year of GNCC Racing. We'll be back on RacerTV.com.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Bogging off the bottom. Let's take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
And wow, what a sight. Beautiful, beautiful facility. Johnny, I've said this before. I will be completely honest. It is an absolute pain in the butt to get here from Indiana. I can't stand the drive, but once you're here, it is absolutely worth it. This facility is just beautiful.
Mikey, I don't know if you know this or not, but the GNCC schedule does not revolve around
That's
your
true.
travel
Exactly.
convenience.
You're absolutely correct.
I get it. This play, it is kind of off by itself. You know, it's people say, oh, South Carolina. So is it like, you know, around like Charlotte? Nope. Go to the ocean and then come back 5 feet.
Yep.
And that's where we are. But beautiful over here. I think this will be where I retire too.
I mean, it's lovely. I like it.
I like that it's secluded. You know, there's not a lot of happening over here. But this weekend, there's a lot happening because we got the Camp Coker FMF Camp Coker Bullet going on, and racing action has been heated all day. We saw some great racing action in our youth races, our micro races this morning, amateur races at 11 o'clock, and then it's continued right over into our 2 p.m. race with Bryson Neal charging through the pack, starting off in about third place. getting the lead and starting to check out. But John Glada Jr., the one rider that's kind of been able to match his pace, only 9 seconds off on lap number 3, 9 seconds off the lap time for a total of 55 seconds behind. A lot of single track here and lap riders in the mix. I do believe, if I was a betting man, Bryson Neal has done enough to hold that lead, and there he is on screen. But John Glada definitely keeping him honest and keeping a solid grip on that number 2 spot.
Yeah, Glada, boy, needs this one. A lot of guys need it, but nonetheless, Glada, high expectations coming into the year, and I think finally looking like that rider we anticipated here in round 4.
Yeah, Bryson just looking like he's found his lines. He's in his rhythm. He's got his racecraft figured out. He's just, we did see him clip a tree. We saw a missed corner where he kind of had to turn around and come back. So it hasn't been a perfect day, but looking at the lap charts, it's been about as close to perfect as you can expect with as many variables and as many challenges as these riders face out on a GNCC course over the course of nearing 2 hours of racing. This one's going to be a little bit short of 2 hours, but I think these guys are going to be pretty happy that it is when it comes right down to it. 1:45, I believe, is what it needs to be, and it will make that cutoff number. But man, it's just been the Bidwell Bullet, Bryson Neal, showing us the fast way around this Camp Coker racetrack all day, and looking like he's just going to keep doing that for a couple more miles.
Well, we welcome into the booth and welcome back to the GNCC Racing Nation. Hey, Rodney Tomlin, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great, man. I actually decided to come down yesterday. I decided I needed a vacation, and I found out Camp Coker. Spot. I was like, I got to go down for Coker, and wow, been out there. These guys, they are riding an extremely brutal racetrack today. You know, you can see the dust and everything. That's nothing. You get out in there in those woods. Those lines are deep. Yeah. Those ruts are deep. It is. This is a man's track today for sure.
And the man right now in 2025 has been out front virtually the entire way, working his way into the lead at the beginning of lap number 2, holding it uncontested throughout the last now 2.5 laps of racing since he took that lead over, working his way through the final miles. But John Glada Jr. putting in a big charge in the number 2 spot, and we will still wait and watch for that final podium position battle between Hunter Hart, who has it, and Walker Fowler, who's worked his way through the pack and wants that final podium position very badly. They were wheel to wheel when we saw them at the 5-mile marker.
So while we wait, while we watch Bryson Neal go to work here, and we'll hopefully wait and catch that battle for the rest of the guys. Rodney, you've been away for a couple of years. When you left, Bryson Neal obviously grabbing that championship in your last year, but it was still the Bryson Neal at that point where it was like wreckers or checkers, right?
Right.
He finally found a way to hone that in. I mean, what's the perspective you have watching B. Neal here today compared to 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, I'll tell you, he was in the process. He just gotten under, was getting, he was just starting to hone his skill and work towards the champion that he is. But the thing that surprises me most, I'm not going to lie, is the people behind him, the people that he's had to battle, the changes in the names. You got John Glada Jr. up there. Now, Hunter, he was one of the top contenders whenever I was out there. Obviously, Walker was, but then you got Josh Merritt back there. Wow.
Man, he is still hauling the mail.
Walker Fowler taking the Supercross line, trying to make the pass on Hunter Hart. That is pure determination. He is saying, I am not going to settle for 4th place here today. I want 3rd, but Hunter Hart able to hold him off for now. That was a full send around that outside, and on the tree there, it says Big Bird Supercross track. The reason why that is Larry Ward, who they called Big Bird. This was his practice facility back in the day when he was racing Supercross many years ago, and those are the remnants of some of that practice track. So Walker Fowler opting for the Supercross doubles through there and very nearly making the pass on Hunter Hart.
But back to your original question, yes, seeing how conditioned he is as a champion and mature, I guess, would probably be the best words to use in this point, is truly impressive. It really is.
Watching it on display right there.
Yeah, he's making it look easy. We know it's not. We know that every one of these guys behind him, especially your top 10, top 20 riders, are finely tuned professional athletes, charging for everything they're worth, using all their skill, all their talent, all their hard work and determination. But right now, Bryson Neal is just firing on all cylinders, and nobody else is able to match his speed or his consistency right now.
I wish the camera could do justice as to what the condition of this racetrack is. And not only these guys bobbing and weaving in and out of these trees, but the condition of the course, the ruts, how uneven they are. It looks like train tracks from this perspective. Those are not train tracks down there. It's left, right, over one side to the other. And these guys, trying to find the smoothest way through that is, I mean, it seems nearly impossible. But it doesn't even look like he's even hitting bumps. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, look at this. Walker Fowler, question mark?
Oh, did he?
No, hard to tell. We saw Fowler. We didn't see Hunter Hart. Don't know if he made the pass or if he's still behind him there. We do know this guy right here, the number 1, the Bidwell Bullet, Phoenix Racing Yamaha out front and making it look relatively easy. Rodney, to your point about this racetrack, I'll put this in perspective. Since retiring at the end of 2022, I'm often asked, is this one you'd like to come back and race again? There's certain tracks where I'm like, no, I'm good watching this one. When I'm asked that question, I just laugh and say, no way! You know, to me, this place is, I don't want to say it's rougher than Florida, but the square edge is just brutal. Florida's a bunch of big bomber sand loops that you kind of just, you know, kind of smash your way through. This place, the square edge, it'll jar the fillings out of your teeth. And the other thing with Florida is when you go into Florida, everybody's like, man, this is going to be a brutal day. You're kind of prepared for it. Camp Coker is unassuming because when you get here and you look at it, you're like, oh, this looks like, look at this place. It's beautiful. There's ponds and there's rope swings and this is going to be so much fun. And then you go out there and by the end of the race, your hands are bleeding. You can't, you know, you can't feel your extremities. You're on the edge of, you know, what Caleb Russell calls the blackout zone. Your heart rate's so high, and you leave here thinking, I will never want to come back to this place again. For me, now that I'm retired, I love this place.
There it is. That makes sense.
It's a great facility, but the racetrack will eat you alive. In my opinion, it is the most sneaky rough track on the circuit. We have a lot of rough racetracks, but this one is just sneaky rough.
And being able to be out there and see it firsthand like this today, Johnny, I can see exactly what your point is. Being even in this perspective and working so many years as I have in Mikey's position, you know, you don't get that. You know, you think you really do, but you don't get it. Go out there about at the 8-mile marker to the 7-mile marker you'll start seeing.
The section of racetrack we just saw, let's say a minute or so ago, Bryson Neal, you kind of saw him switch from left to right. You saw him check up a few times. I was out there during the morning race, which we know the track has deteriorated more. There was quads sunken up to the seats, and the ruts where I was stepping in them to help people, they were mid-hip for me. So from the drone, it doesn't look that bad. You know, Bryson Neal kind of hops his way through, he picks his line, transfers his weight, and bada bing, bada boom, he's out of there. When you're down in there, it's a war zone, man. I mean, just a fraction of an inch off your line, and next thing you know, you're stuck, or you're having to absolutely just bury yourself to try to get that machine out. But, you know, look at this. Bryson Neal, this is it, folks. This is the final stretch of racetrack. Nothing really to speak of standing between him and what looking like it will be another win for the Bidwell Bullet.
That would be win at number 34 on his career. Still sitting in that number 5 on the all-time wins list. Got a ways to go to catch up to the man in fourth. That would be some fella named Barry Hawk with 49 wins. Attainable by B. Neal. Not this year. Someday. Maybe.
That right there, looking at that, seeing that number 75, and I watched that on Racer TV, and that was just an amazing moment, I thought, whenever Walker was able to pull off that win. But to see that number climbing like that is just blowing my mind. But seeing Bryson Neal's number, win number 34, that's pretty impressive as well.
Very much.
It puts in perspective, though. I mean, Bryson's on championship number, working towards trying to win championship number 4 with 35. This would be, 34 wins.
Correct.
You know, Chris Borich with that astronomical 75 number. This is it, folks. This is the final chicanes. And Walker Fowler was 78 during those 7 titles. So it's, you know, it almost seems like, you know, Bryson Neal's going to need to keep winning for another 4 or 5 years to put himself in that mix. But you couldn't put it past this guy. He's in the peak of his form right now.
That's it. Rodney, bring us home, man.
And there he is. The Bidwell Bullet takes home the checkers at Camp Coker.
Well, hey, big congratulations. Man, you shut him down, Rodney. That's good. That's good. So Bryson Neal.
You heard a little hoot there.
That was. He is going to jump off this ATV. He's going to be breathing through his nose and chilling. There is his wife and soon-to-be baby mama in June.
There we see Wayne Eller, one of the powers that be there at that Phoenix Racing Yamaha team. You know, he's proud of Bryson. There we see C. Neal coming in, Chris Neal, Uncle Mike. surrounded by the crew. And like you said, a big family, just a bunch of good old boys hanging out, but doing it, in Bryson Neal's case, at a very high rate of speed.
Very much.
Just absolutely punishing this Camp Coker racetrack today. I think he might be talking about where he got together with that tree and sent himself over the handlebars. Bryson, if you can hear us, we got that on Racer TV. We got your crash. You'll be able to go back and watch it, but still, able to get it done. We'll keep watching and see if we can get John Glada Jr. coming across the finish line. Will he be able to put the finishing touches on that second place finish? Will Hunter Hart be able to hold off Walker Fowler? We saw Walker Fowler on a camera shot. There was no Hunter Hart. We don't know if Hunter had gotten away or if Walker had been able to make the pass. We may have to wait until they actually check in and their transponders read to find out the final results on that one there.
Got the camo Yamaha hat already ready for hunting season. I like it. So waiting on second place to roll through. This might be it right here.
It is.
There he is. Man, how about this, Johnny? John Glada Jr., I don't know if overdue is the right word, but, I mean, this has got to feel good for John Glada to be back where I think we expected him to be in the last few seasons.
Yeah, that's a great day for John Glada. You can see
there it is.
That to me looked like relief.
Yep. Still worthy, buddy. You got it. Fist in the air. Big congratulations to the 712, and boy, great day for Phoenix Racing Yamaha.
Yep, 1-2 punch for the Phoenix Racing Yamaha boys. There we can see he's got some friends coming over. That's Harrison Lindsay, rider we saw that was out there in the sportsman class this morning, a good buddy of John's. Man, you can see he looks pretty fresh, but definitely gave up some time on the last lap. 1 minute 45 seconds,
Holy
the margin
smokes.
of victory for Bryson Neal, so 50 seconds faster on that final lap of racing than his nearest competitor, which was John Glada Jr. Now we'll wait and watch. Will it be the number 6 of Hunter Hart holding on to that podium position he wrestled away just a lap ago, or will it be the 7? It is the 723 of Fowler has gotten around Hart. They are now working their way through the final mile or fraction of a mile here of racing, so it looks like Walker Fowler has gotten the job done. He got around Hunter Hart and will take that final podium position here today. A few chicanes left, but he was able to make the pass.
Well, there you go. That just shows once again, and not again taking anything away from Hunter Hart, but it just goes to show you the seasoned veteranship of Walker Fowler and what he's able to be able to do, the power that he's been able to muster. He know when to strike, when not to strike, when to save the energy, and as beat as he will be at the end of this, I say he will probably be as fresh, if not fresher, than anyone else coming off the racetrack today.
Yeah, that was a championship point salvaging ride for Walker Fowler, starting virtually last, tied up with another rider in the first turn. A very challenging track to pass on, fighting, wrestling, clawing his way to a podium position here, third on the day, and wrestling that position away from Hunter Hart in the final miles.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear Hunter's perspective on that. I think the body language speaking to it just a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's just a frustrated rider that, knew. There you see.
Coming together.
It was all over in the first turn for me, and I just did what I could to try to salvage some points. I think that's what we're going to hear out of Walker today.
It's one of those things, though, too, Johnny. We've talked about it. It's if you want to compete for that title, you can't finish off of the box. Looked like it was not going to be a podium day for Walker, and somehow he makes it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was not even on the radar on lap one, outside the top 10, I believe, or very near outside the top 10, and then able to charge up and make a lot of key passes, putting himself in a podium position there in third. Hunter Hart, great ride for him as well, working his way up through. But ultimately, I think we have our leader, our race winner, Bryson Neal, and he's standing by with Zach Aaron.
Hey, thanks, guys. Down here at the finish line, Bryson Neal, man, you're handshaking, shaking hands, kissing babies. I mean, what a ride. We got to talk about it. We do have a tree on the way to the local hospital after coming together with Bryson Neal. Oh, yeah, we got it. You know we weren't going to miss that one. Take us through what happened.
It ain't always gravy out there. When you pass hundreds of trees, it's bound to happen. And I haven't hit the dirt yet this year at a GNCC, so it feels good to get one out of the way and just tumble and roll with it, because sometimes you thump and you don't roll as easy. So that was a freebie. Kind of got a little bit sideways on that one, caught the tree, but worked out. We're all right. Dude, track was phenomenal. I had a blast. Start was super sketchy, where we had a little bit of water on the start. It was real skatey getting off the line, and man, it just seemed like we was all getting there at the exact same time. And there was two people three of us, just three wide in the first corner, and that sand's real deep. And I think I was fourth going to the woods. And man, boy, it was super dusty. I thought looking at the ground, and whenever I went and looked at the morning and the first 2 laps, I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. But when we got to the afternoon section out there only, the dust was thick. And Josh and John, they just dusted me out. And it took me a few miles from the 4 or 5, wherever that was, maybe toward the 10, until I was able to get sight of them again. That dust did a number on me. Then we was just able to pass one person at a time, get into the lead. And, man, we just was cruising. Bike was phenomenal. Bike was working great. I was feeling really good today. The last lap, I thought that it was going to be a little bit closer to finish. 2 lap riders in the very tight section, they decided that they was going to try to go through the same corner at the same time, and they locked wheels. And I didn't think I was going to be out there having to do some barbell rows and some bench press on the last lap in the middle of it. And man, worked like heck to get those guys out. I hit the panic button because there's nowhere to go. It was just super brushy on both sides. I was dead in the water. And I was able to pick the one guy up, get him fired up. He took off, got the other guy, and then I was able to get it going, and it just felt like, time was ticking. But he was able to get to the finish line and bring this thing home.
So we can hire you to do a little track work, too, if we need you to help break up some lap riders, is what you're saying.
I guess I can wear many hats, so I can fit in anywhere.
Doing whatever you need to do. We were even talking about it on Racer TV. Clearly, the intensity, the speed was there, but you just seem to have not only your bike figured out, but your entire program. Even your pit stops, everybody just seems calm, cool, and collected. How dialed in are you guys? I know, the cliche, we're as good as we've ever been, never felt better, but it really seems like this entire team and your crew is firing on all systems.
Yeah, man, that's what we feel like. We ain't no spring chickens no more. We're getting on the older side of the group now on the front line, and we've been doing this for a while. And man, we got a heck of a program. The program that my dad and I, with some sponsors that we brought on board this year, that we started testing last summer. We're bringing the Walsh front end components and the Factory 43 A arms. Got a little bit more power with the DASA guys. This bike is just absolutely working phenomenal. David Eller and the entire Phoenix Racing ATV Yamaha team, Donnie Luce and the Yamaha program, giving me this platform, this machine that just rock and rolls as it is out of the box. We just keep on just finding a little bit more and a little bit more, and we're just coming into our own right now. We're back home. We're starting to get in some good seat time. We're having fun. Everything's clicking. We're 2 months away from the baby. We just want to work. I just got to be honest. We're just ready to work. We're ready to rock and ready to keep this thing going.
He's having fun, going fast, and putting in work. Bryson Neal, your XC1 winner.
Well, big congratulations to B. Neal, the Bidwell Bullet career win number 34, and a convincing win, winning just by, just under a minute, Johnny?
1 minute and 45 seconds.
Yeah, just under 2 minutes. Pardon me.
Didn't you say he gained 50 seconds?
Yeah, so here's the thing, guys. He's talking about having to do some bench presses and rows on
that's
that final lap of racing.
That's,
he's like, I really thought it was going to be close to the finish. Guys, Bryson Neal was 40 seconds faster than the next fastest rider on the final lap. Wow.
And it sounds like Jackson Burrell standing by with second place, John Glotta Jr.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with John Glotta Jr. John, we've been hearing that the speed is there, man. Today we finally got to see it. Take us through your race day.
Yeah, man. It's been a long road to get back to this point. I felt really good for a while and just kept having stupid mistakes happen and put myself way too far back off the start. But today got a good start, and then I told a couple of my buddies before the race, it's like I just need to try and keep Bryson in sight for a little bit, get a big gap on everybody, and then kind of just cruise and run my own race. And we did just that, and it feels great to be back up here.
And a big congratulations to you. How do you feel going into the next round in Tennessee?
We got momentum now, so I'm ready to keep it rolling.
All right, guys, that's John Glotta Jr. Back to you.
Well, he wrote the recipe, right? The template. Get with Bryson Neal early, hang with him as long as you can.
Hey, if you're wondering how to run a race, just do what Bryson Neal does, because it's working out right now.
Pretty good template.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great ride from him. Great start, was able to turn it into his first podium of the year, first podium in a few years now, and a very, very solid performance from him here today.
And sounds like Jackson Burrell standing by with our third-place finisher. Ooh, heck of a last lap. Ready to hear that story, Walker Fowler.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Walker Fowler. Walker, third place I know is not the place you want to be, but nonetheless, you made the best out of your day here today. Take us through your race. Take us through that last lap.
Yeah, man, my starts are killing me. It fired. I just, this BNR horsepower did not go to the ground. I think I was leaned too far forward, wasn't expecting it to be as wet as it was from the water truck, and honestly, that wasn't the issue. Made some quick passes. I think I was 5th or 6th at the 5-mile marker, and Jared McClure hit a tree in the dust. I couldn't see him. I hit him, and him and I went to second to last and last. I appreciate Jared for pulling over and giving me a spot, but man, it just made for a long day. So, yeah, you know, kind of coming up through, all the guys were, I wouldn't even rev or yell. I don't expect anyone to move out of my way, but I think they sensed I had a little bit more pace, and they would get out of the way, try to latch on, and, you know, slowly but surely worked my way up. I rode around in 9th for a while, rode around in 7th for a while, but honestly, Wyatt Wilkin kind of saved the day for me there. He had a lot of pace. He was riding really good, and, man, he closed the gap on about 4 guys, you know, to get us within that podium position, and there was a lap rider hit a tree, got sideways in the trail. Everyone scattered. I kind of was the patient for once. You know, usually the patience is what's been killing me lately, but everybody got hung up between tight trees, and I was able to get just barely past the lap rider, get into that 4th place position. And, man, I could see Hunter Hart just not that far ahead of me the last lap, and I was riding good. So I just knew I had to get behind him. All the lines I had picked out, he was able to match it or block it, and was like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm 3rd or 4th or what place I am, but good enough for me. And he popped out of the ruts right here at the finish line, and had to take an alternate line or hit a tree, and I was able to, you know, stay on the trail. And I didn't know what place I was. I got 3rd. So you know what? Am I happy? Absolutely not. For the day I had, I'll take it.
All right, guys. There's Walker Fowler. Back to you.
Well, a little better perspective for Walker this week, Johnny, than compared to a few weeks ago after Alabama.
Yeah,
still not perfect, but on his way.
Yeah, I think a big difference in perspective there. You know, Walker obviously had the lead at one point in Alabama and wasn't able to match Bryson's pace today. Having to claw his way through to kind of salvage points, it's a very different mindset. But, you know, again, still not happy, but for the day I had, I'll take it. That speaks volumes.
Well, we take a look at the Specialized race recap, and this hasn't got gnarly quick. Your leader's getting out in front. Merritt in the mix. John Collada, fantastic start for him. But some guys getting tangled up there in the first turn.
Yeah, and then some big tangle-ups here in the XC2 class.
Mercy.
Riders getting absolutely tangled up in another quad. But Kenny Schick, the 259 machine, that BNR power out front, hooked up and marching away with a big pole shot in that XC2 class. Big class of those guys there today. And you, oh man, some more riders upside down and still trying to dig riders out of those ATVs.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Johnny Gallagher. We didn't get it on camera as we watched Josh Merritt right there. Bro, you ran with flip-flops. You were ready for the alternate start like you were Johnny on the spot, pun intended.
I've seen it happen a time or two, so I was just getting prepared. Luckily, we were able to get that rider out of that machine. But then the battle for lead ensued, and Josh Merritt had it, but Bryson Neal able to wrestle it away early in lap number 2, and that's when things just started to really go smoothly for Bryson Neal. John Galata able to work his way around Josh Merritt, and then Hunter Hart was the rider on the charge from outside the top 5 up into a podium position, was able to track down Stephen Harrell, track down some more riders and make passes. That was really the only mistake we saw out of Bryson Neal today. And it was interesting, his perspective, that this battle right down the finish,
smokes, that was
Walker
crazy.
Fowler full send trying to make passes on Hunter Hart there in the final miles of racing. But Bryson Neal said, you know, I was glad to get that crash out of the way. It was nice to just tuck and roll with it. So when you talk about having the right mindset, I mean, this guy's even happy about his crashes.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah, the man was just crazy good today. Bryson Neal grabbing career win number 34. And John Galata Jr. grabbing second place. There is your top 10 with Walker Fowler 3rd, Hunter Hart 4th. Stephen Harrell, another top 5 for him, Wyatt Wilkin. Jay Shad, tough day for Jay Shad. He had expectations of a podium, still a top 10. Josh Merritt, rough day for him. And then the Gator, Adam Gill, and the Cobra, Jared McClure, are going to round out that top 10 in your overall.
Worth noting there, Stephen Harrell only 21 seconds behind Hunter Hart at the finish. So you want to add up the amount of seconds that he's been off the podium this year.
Good point.
I mean, I think we're still under a minute. 4 races in combined. So he's right there. We'll definitely keep an eye on him in future races.
Something to keep an eye on. Rodney, this is kind of a new one. We've been doing these big takeaways from today's race. I'm going to throw it to you first, put you right on the spot. Man.
Well, my big takeaway from the race is the fact that we've got the depth of talent in the field. That's one thing that we've always looked at, and you got those 1 or 2 riders that seem to break away, and we still have that. But the names that we're seeing and the positions that we're seeing them finish in, there's not a lot of they're doing a lot of swapping around, and this is a year that I think it's anybody's ball game. I mean, right now Bryson Neal looks completely in control, and I'm not going to say that he's not going to maintain that, but at the same time, I still see the fact that we've got some riders back there that as the season progresses, that we might see them rise to some new levels as well.
Yeah, they're all on the Yahtzee shaker at this point. Johnny, what about today, man?
I'll do 3 takeaways from today, and it revolves around our 3 podium finishers. Can anybody stop Bryson Neal?
Dude.
Because the dominance that he's showing right now, it's just really next level, and he's just really impressive these last 3 rounds of racing for sure. Second place, John Glada Jr. Welcome to 2025.
Yeah.
The flying at the test track finally comes to fruition. A podium finish for him and a very solid second place finish. And then some fight out of Walker Fowler.
Yeah, big time.
I think that was big fight for him today, and showing despite his kind of dejected attitude after round 3, he's here to fight and to get it on the box as far back as he was. And then we heard he had even more problems. I think that shows that he's here to fight for the season, and he wants to try to run for a championship.
All right, I'll go outside the box. I'm going to throw one out there, a prediction for Old Gray. It's next, I believe, Tennessee. Hunter Hart, first podium of his season is coming up at the Old Gray. I think today's probably going to sit a little bitter. He's not going to like that.
He had it till the final turns.
And he did. And he was bested by a man with a whole lot of career wins. There's nothing wrong with that. But Hunter, I think, is going to be hungry that next round, man.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, that is going to wrap things up for us. I want to thank you guys for watching. Been a great race here today. Be sure to tune into the rest of our broadcast. Coming up next is going to be round number 4 of Camp Coker here tomorrow. And then we've got the Old Gray up in Tennessee from here. Is that up, over? It's in the ballpark. And then it'd be over. That's true. And then the Bagger Racing League round 1 coming up April 26th. Be sure to tune in and check that out. And, yes, that is going to wrap things up for us on behalf of Jackson Burrell, Zach Herron, Johnny Gallagher, the Rodney Tomlin. I'm going to throw him in there. Camera operators, Matt, Josh, Adam, Leah, Kirsten, Jack, Cameron, and Adam. Our drone pilot, Gabe Scholl. Our manager, Dan Reinhart. Engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden. Director, Don Hampton. Producer, Adam Gordon. And our executive producer, Carrie Jo Russell. I'm Mikey Waynes, and you've been watching GNCC on RacerTV.com.